Chapter 7:15. That's right. He bought the black heaven water flower and gave it to the girl named Shi-Er. Young Lord Gu, you shouldn't have any concerns about a girl from the Sea clan, right? Ling Zhao's Taoist body smiled. He was obviously very sinister. Shi-Er? Humph, although my sea region is thousands of miles wide, I know all the famous monsters. Although this girl has many spiritual stones, she must have had some fortuitous encounters. However, I see that you and the girl are companions. What are you trying to do? Gu Ao looked at Ling Xiao cautiously. He did not take a human youth seriously. However, things were abnormal. There must be a conspiracy. Zhang Wu, that fool, had been killed. Gu Ao naturally had to be more cautious. Now, the southern border was in chaos. There were many traces of demons. Some of the Sea clan had joined forces with the demons to bring chaos to the world. In such a situation, the Sea clan was no longer as intimidating as before. However, the black heaven water flower was very important to him. If he could obtain this fortune, perhaps he would be able to use it to comprehend the Tao law and achieve supreme fame in one go. Haha, young Lord Gu, you don't know. Shi-Er and I were originally in love. I didn't expect her to change her mind. Such a woman. If I don't kill her, I won't be able to get rid of the hatred in my heart. Unfortunately, with my strength, I'm no match for her. Ling Zhao's Taoist body gritted his teeth. His eyes were burning with anger. Oh, I see. Gu Ao nodded. You can find her whereabouts? Of course. I left a mark on her just now. Now, she's heading to the depths of the sea region. However, young Lord Gu, if I can lead you to her, the spiritual stones on her, Ling Zhao's Taoist body's face flashed with greed. The human heart was unpredictable. If he did not show any flaws, how could Gu Ao be willing to die? Ha ha ha, they're all yours. Gu Ao nodded and smiled. However, he snorted in his heart. A human ant dares to bargain with me? Then, young lord, let's go? It's better to prevent others from getting it first. Hearing this, Ling Zhao's Taoist body did not hesitate. He turned and walked out of the island. The sea region was thousands of miles wide. At this time, Shi-Er didn't go deep into the sea. Instead, she was flying in the air, enjoying the rare sunshine. After 6 years of seclusion, she was now one of the top geniuses of the sea region. She wondered if the clansmen would be able to recognize her when they saw her. At this time, Shi-Er was somewhat impatient to return to the clan, not only because she missed her parents, but also, it was a promise to the Lord Ling Xiao. Although the young master was not in a hurry, Shi-Er wanted to return the 2 Tao tools to the young master as soon as possible. This way, she would have an excuse to see him. Young master, since you're already here, why don't you stay as a guest in my Golden Scale clan? Shi-Er can also do her part as a host and interact with you? However, just as Shi-Er's figure stepped out of the forgotten islet, a layer of ripples suddenly appeared in the void in front of her. Immediately after, golden light filled the area within a radius of several miles, turning into a formation that completely imprisoned the space. Shi-Er's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, and her jade-like hands quietly clenched. Before she left, Ling Xiao had already reminded her to leave as soon as possible so that she wouldn't be targeted. However, it seemed that she had underestimated the courage of these people. In broad daylight, in such a clear and bright world, they planned to rob her in broad daylight? Ha ha ha, young lady, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Is it because your horse is calling you home for dinner? The golden formation covered the sky, and at the same time, it also concealed the scene within the formation. All that could be seen was 5 powerhouses standing in the void, coldly looking at the girl in front of them. Among them, 2 of them had already entered the God-King level, and their vast spiritual aura shook the world. The remaining 3 were in the 8th and 9th level of the God Overlord level. Among the 5, 3 were members of the Sea tribe, and 2 were of the human race. Moreover, they were wary of each other, and it was obvious that they had just cooperated. Why are you wasting your breath on her? Brother Kuei, let's make a deal. The black heaven water essence belongs to you, and the Tao tools and spirit stones belong to us. One of the human race's god king sneered. Beside him, the other sea tribe's god king nodded immediately. All right. Boom. Terrifying spiritual aura instantly spread out, and Shi-Er's pretty face darkened. Between her brows, a water-blue brilliance bloomed. In just a short moment, a divine shadow condensed behind her, towering over the heavens and earth with a majestic appearance. The divine shadow was at least 10 feet tall, and its entire body was ice blue. Taoist rhymes flowed around it, and although its appearance could not be seen clearly, it gave off a ferocious feeling. 2 god kings, 3 god overlords. It was impossible for Shi-Er to deal with such a lineup with her strength. However, it was absolutely impossible for her to hand over her fortune so easily and drag out an ignoble existence. Moreover, since these people dared to rob her at the Forgotten Isle coast, they probably had no intention of letting her go. If she fought, she might have a chance at survival. If she did not fight, she might not be able to escape death today. Hee, it seems like you don't plan to just surrender. Very well, when we capture you, we can taste your flavor. Let's do it. The 2 god kings looked at each other, and suddenly stepped forward. However, just as their attacks were about to land, the golden formation above their heads suddenly trembled violently for a moment. Then, a white palm print pierced through the void, and shattered the formation along with the heavens and earth. Crack! Golden light scattered, and Shi-Er's beautiful eyes flashed with surprise. However, when she raised her head and saw the green-robed figure, there was a trace of disbelief in the depths of her eyes. This was because she saw that the figure that descended from the sky was none other than Qing Yu. Could it be that this was the so-called fate? Even if Shi-Er was thoroughly disappointed in Qing Yu, as he said, her life was saved by Qing Yu. Without him, she would not be who she was now. It was the second time. If Qing Yu's unintentional action was a coincidence, then this time, he did not hesitate to do it. After all, the 5 people blocking her way all possessed powerful cultivations, and were all fugitives. Qing Yu's appearance at this time also boded ill. Did I blame you wrongly? Brother Qing Yu, although you are greedy and jealous in times of danger, you are still willing to stand in front of Shi-Er, right? Where did this idiot come from? How dare he ruin my plan? The 5 of them were stunned, and they were somewhat nervous. To be able to break the formation so easily, the intruder must have stepped into the great Emperor realm. However, when they saw Qing Yu's appearance and the aura of a divine overlord, the fear on their faces instantly turned into anger. Boy! Do you want to die? Brother Qing Yu, hurry up and leave! Shi-Er shouted softly, but Qing Yu only shook his head with a smile. He did not even look at her. The few of you are really bold. At this time, Qing Yu stood in the void with his hands clasped behind his back. His expression was extremely calm, as if he did not care about the divine overlords at all. Of course, in Shi-Er's eyes, this attitude more or less caused her to feel a little disappointed. This was what Brother Qing Yu looked like in her memory. He was proud and fearless, and he was willing to go against the heavens and earth for her. But, baby, you think too much. Let her despair, give her hope, and then personally let her despair. With so many twists and turns, how could a prideful girl not collapse? Boy, are you out of your mind? The 5 of them looked at each other, but the corner of Qing Yu's mouth raised into a mocking smile. You guys have guts, you actually dare to snatch young Master Gu Ao's prey. What? Chapter 7:16. Young Lord Gu Ao? Prey? Shi-Er's face froze. She could not react in time. Behind Qing Yu, Gu Ao and an old man stepped out of the void and appeared in front of everyone. Shi-Er's eyes flashed with shock and sorrow. Qing Yu. No matter how unwilling she was to believe it, she finally understood what the word prey meant. It turned out that Qin Yu did not come to save her. He came with Gu Ao to kill her. Black Heaven Water Flower. Soon, Shi understood the reason why Gu Ao came here. In the entire Yu city, other than Lord Ling Xiao, only Qin Yu knew that the water flower was in her hands. For a moment, Shi found it hard to accept. Although she had long sensed the change in Qin Yu, she had never imagined that this youth, who had saved her life, would actually be deranged to such an extent. The desolate heaven-ancient tablet and the sky-piercing jade conch were the supreme spiritual treasures that her master had given her. The ancient tablet was also the inheritance treasure of the sea region. However, she still gave it to Qin Yu without hesitation. She only hoped that he could pull himself together and restore the dignity of the tribe. Today, she had used up all her savings to give him 9 Dao artifacts. She wanted to cut off this ill-fated relationship. However, why was he still not satisfied? Perhaps this was the human heart that her master had mentioned. For the first time, Shi felt sad in her heart. She thought that he had joined forces with outsiders to kill her for his own benefit. How laughable and sad was that? Young Lord Gu Ao. We don't know. In the void, the 5 divine kings and divine marquises' faces had turned pale. Even their voices were trembling. The royal family of the sea region was not something they could provoke. You can leave now. Gu Ao smiled gently as if he did not care. Thank you, young Lord Gu. Thank you. However, just as the 5 of them turned around and wanted to escape from this place, the old man who was standing beside Gu Ao suddenly and strangely disappeared without a trace. Ah! Screams could be heard from afar. In front of a peak 6th grade divine emperor, divine kings and divine marquises were ants. In just a breath's time, the old man returned with an indifferent face. Shi right? I will give you a chance. If you are willing to obediently hand the Black Heaven's water bloom to me and become my maidservant, not only will I not kill you today, I will even help you fulfill a wish. Gu Ao looked at Qin Yu beside him with a mocking expression, the meaning of which was self-evident. Young Lord Gu, what do you mean by this? Qin Yu was stunned and his eyes were filled with panic. I am a person who dislikes vile people the most. Especially vile people like you, people who try to kill others after failing to woo me. Gu Ao's lips curled into a playful smile as he looked at Shi with sparkling eyes. How about it, Miss Shi? What do you think of my proposal? If that's the case, then I'll ask young Lord Gu Ao to help me kill this ungrateful bastard. At this time, Shi no longer owed Qin Yu anything. If it was about leaving the Forgotten Isle, she would still feel a little disappointed. Now all she had left was hatred. As for being Gu Ao's maid, even if I agree to be your maid, I'm afraid your Bone Clam clan won't have the fortune to enjoy it. Qin Yu, you have no idea what you've missed out on. For the sake of a few Dao artifacts, you've missed out on the entire ocean region. Alright. Then I'll do as you say and kill this scum of the human race first. Gu Ao nodded indifferently. He was not afraid that Shi would cause any trouble. With his strength as an 8th grade divine overlord, it was more than enough to deal with a 3rd grade divine overlord. Moreover, there was a 6th grade divine emperor standing beside him. Elder Shi. Yes, young lord. The white-haired elder bowed slightly. At this time, Qin Yu took out a spiritual snail and tried to escape from this place. Trying to escape? Gu Ao snorted coldly. The aura of a 6th grade divine emperor instantly shrouded the area and trapped the entire space. Qin Yu's eyes flashed with a tinge of panic. A pair of lightning wings appeared on his back as he turned around and fled towards the horizon. Humph! You've overestimated yourself. Although Qin Yu was moving at a terrifying speed, Gu Ao's face was filled with obvious mockery. Young lord, wait for me for a while, I'll be back soon. In the end, his body turned into nothingness and disappeared from the spot. Hee Miss Shi, look, I've helped you fulfill your wish. Can you give me the Black Heaven Water Flower now? Don't worry, I'm not interested in your Tao artifact at all. I only want the black heaven water flower and you. Gu Ao smiled eerily. However, Shi Er's eyes flashed with a tinge of coldness. Let's see if young Lord Gu Ao has the ability to do so. After saying that, before Gu Ao could react, Shi Er's beautiful figure turned into a stream of light and appeared in front of him. In her hand, a blue longsword appeared out of nowhere. There seemed to be thousands of strands of immortal radiance on it. There were 3,000 Tao intents on it, and it was endlessly mysterious. The sea region within a radius of 10,000 miles instantly rippled. The void seemed to have collapsed under Shi Er's sword. Countless Tao inscriptions formed a scar and cut off Gu Ao's escape route. Die! She raised her hand and slashed out with her sword. Runes of great Tao inscriptions intertwined in the void like surging waves. It was vast and boundless. You've overestimated yourself. Gu Ao snorted coldly. Although he sounded relaxed, he was actually surprised. This young girl's sword intent was obviously mixed with Tao rhyme. He did not expect that this young girl of unknown origin was actually a Tao law monster. In the entire sea region, it was impossible for anyone who could comprehend Tao law at this age to not have any background. However, the more it was so, the more intense the killing intent in Gu Ao's eyes became. After all, he had already revealed his killing intent towards Shi Er today. No matter who was standing behind her, it would be over once and for all if he killed them. Otherwise, if it implicated other royal family experts, there would be great trouble. As he thought of that, layers of white bones suddenly covered Gu Ao's body. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a white bone barrier and blocked in front of Shi Er. Boom! The sword intent that filled the sky fell and collided with the bone world. In a short moment, the void collapsed. Even the sea region beneath the two of them was instantly swept up with waves that were tens of thousands of feet high. However, Shi Er's cultivation was only at the 3rd grade after all. On the other hand, Gu Ao was the royal family's young lord, and he was using his innate ability. Therefore, when the sword fell, although it slashed his figure several feet away. However, the white bone barrier was not damaged at all. Humph! Little girl, I advise you to obediently give up. Otherwise, I won't be polite. Gu Ao's expression was gloomy as he coldly looked at the beautiful blue-clothed figure in the distance. Although his life-bone world was not broken, it was still humiliating for Gu Ao to be forced back by a girl of unknown origin. The royal family's young lord was the top of his generation in the endless sea. Of course, this young lord was not in his 40s like what the human race said. Normally, the lifespan of the demon race was counted in the hundreds of years. Although Gu Ao was from the younger generation, he was already 80 years old. Shi looked like a little girl who was at most 20 years old. Even though that was the case, Gu Ao still felt a trace of faint pressure from the sword strike earlier. However, the more it was so, the more he would not let her live. Chapter 7:17. Why isn't Elder Shi back yet? Gu Ao turned his head and looked into the distance with a tinge of surprise in his eyes. Logically speaking, with Elder Shi's strength, it should be easy for him to kill a divine overlord. Why was he gone for so long? He was feeling uneasy. Come out. However, Gu Ao did not think too much about it. Elder Shi was a peak grade 6 divine emperor, and he was an expert in the sea region. Moreover, although the Bone Clam clan's attack was not sharp, their defense was terrifying. Especially the natal bone world, it was the clan's one and only gifted superpower. It was not easy for someone of the same level to break it. Just as Gu Ao finished speaking, a layer of ripples suddenly appeared in the space behind Shi. Then, a burly middle-aged man slowly appeared. Young Lord. This person's cultivation was also at the 1st level of the Celestial Emperor realm. However, he was only a rank 2 Celestial Emperor. He had always been hiding in the dark, doing shady business for Gu Ao. Gu Quan, kill her quickly and let's leave this place. Gu Ao didn't know why, but he felt an inexplicable sense of unease. Especially when Gu Shi had not returned, it made the young lord of the Bone Clan even more cautious. Yes. Gu Quan bowed and took a step forward. Suddenly, divine light bloomed in his palm, and it turned into a 100-foot-long bone spear. It was eerie and evil. Then, Gu Quan clenched his fist and held the bone spear in his hand. He threw it at Shi. Virum. There was an ear-piercing sound of wind breaking. It was obvious that Gu Quan had used all his strength. A white figure flashed across the void and left a 100-foot-long black mark. In a short instant, the bone spear had already pierced through space, pierced through the heavens and the earth, and appeared around 3 m before Shi. Damn it! Even with Shi's talent, she felt her scalp go numb and a chill ran from her feet to the top of her head. The spear came too quickly, and she did not have any time to dodge it. Moreover, Shi did not have the confidence to defend herself against a Grade 2 Divine Emperor's full-strength attack. If the desolate Heaven Ancient Tablet was in her hands, she could use the power of the Ancient Tablet to fight to her death. But now Shi's eyes were filled with despair. The blue light between her eyebrows suddenly grew brighter. Immediately after, a divine shadow that seemed to have stepped through the ages completely enveloped Shi's delicate body. Boom! The bone spear pierced through the clouds and instantly landed on the divine shadow. Shi's body trembled violently as she spat out a mouthful of blood. She fell from the air and landed on the surface of the sea in a sorry state. At this moment, her complexion was extremely pale, and the aura around her body was dispirited. Even the soul light in her eyes had dimmed. In the sky, Gu Quan frowned slightly. He was clearly surprised. A mere deity overlord ant had blocked his full-powered attack? This young girl was probably not simple. But so what if he wasn't simple? Since the young master had already provoked them, they could only kill them with all their might. Thinking like this, Gu Quan's 2 hands suddenly stretched out, the spirit aura around his body rippling. In a short moment, the 2 bone spears that were over 10 m long had condensed once more in his hands. Ghastly lights flickered on them while Dao markings floated up and down, and he pointed them at Shi from afar. Higher up in the sky, Ling Xiao stood with his hands behind his back, calmly watching the battle below. Still not despairing enough. Humans would only understand the value of life when they were at their most despairing. At the same time, 1,000 miles away on a deserted island, Qing Yu suddenly stopped as the lightning wings on his back dissipated. Behind him, Gu Shi walked over from the horizon with a cold smile on his face. His eyes were filled with bone-chilling killing intent. Little bastard! Why aren't you running? Why aren't you running anymore? At this moment, the elder of the Bone Clan did not look surprised at all. In his opinion, the reason why this young man could move so quickly was most likely due to the lightning wings on his back. However, such a treasure would definitely consume a lot of spiritual energy to activate. Therefore, he had stopped moving. To be honest, it was already beyond Gu Shi's expectation that a mere deity overlord ant could last until now. However, just as the young man turned his head, Gu Shi's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. At this moment, he could see the evil smile on the young man's face. Especially the playful look in his deep eyes, it was more like a cat playing with a mouse. Gulp. Strangely, Gu Shi felt a chill in his heart. Kill him! Qing Yu smiled faintly as light flashed on his face. Then, he changed into another appearance. Gu Shi felt a ripple in the void behind him. When he turned his head, he saw a tall demonic figure descending from the sky. It was like a great demon from the 9 heavens. His aura was terrifying and his demonic intent was vast. Then, under Gu Shi's horrified gaze, he punched out. The void shattered as thousands of demonic runes merged into one punch. Even though Gu Shi was a 6th-grade Divine Emperor, he could only feel despair. He did not even have the courage to resist. Poof! It was only when Xiong Huan's fist pierced through Gu Shi's chest that the elder of the Bone clan felt his soul lighten. The shock on his face instantly froze. On an ancient island in the depths of the sea. On the island stood an ancient city with towering divine trees. Endless Taoist rhymes flowed between heaven and earth, transforming into an array that enveloped the entire island. This island was called Heaven's Horizon. It was the human territory in the deepest part of the sea. Of course, all the human cultivators who hid on this island were either evil demons who wreaked havoc in the world or were not tolerated by the righteous path. They could only pass their days in the depths of the sea. As time passed, these people gathered together and formed a force called Heaven's Horizon City. Firstly, it was to deal with the pursuit of their enemies. Secondly, it was to intimidate the Sea Tribe so that they would not be slaughtered by the demons. At this moment, outside Heaven's Horizon City, a figure covered in a black robe walked forward with his head lowered. If he was dressed like this elsewhere, he would be immediately killed as an evil demon. However, in Heaven's Horizon City, no one would meddle in other people's business. After all, everyone had their secret. However, just as the figure in black was about to step into the city gate, his eyes suddenly narrowed. In front of the city gate, there were a few people from Heaven's Horizon City who were dressed in armor and holding weapons. They were carefully examining the passers-by. When this scene entered the eyes of the crowd, it was more or less a little strange. Damn! Is there a good citizen in Heaven's Horizon City? Why are you checking people? What's going on? Why is Heaven's Horizon City checking people entering the city? Don't you know? It is said that there is a heavenly poison evil manifestation in southern border. What? Heavenly poison evil body? No wonder Heaven's Horizon City is so vigilant. Hearing the crowd's words, the figure covered in a black robe trembled quietly. His face suddenly flashed with resentment and anger. Who was the one who leaked the news? Also, isn't Heaven's Horizon City known for collecting all the evil demons in the world? Why are you biased against my heavenly poison sacred body? I think you are targeting me. Just because I am a villain, do I have to be killed wherever I go? Things like settings were really scary. Chapter 7:18. Brothers, can you tell me about the heavenly poison evil body? The figure shrouded in a black robe was naturally Feng Rouge, who had fled all the way south to the depths of the sea. She had planned to escape to the chaotic sea to avoid being hunted down. After all, Sky Border City was full of demons. Who would care about her, the successor of the heavenly poison body? But I didn't expect this. The heavenly poison evil body was indeed a forbidden body. Even the demons couldn't tolerate me. Ha ha ha. You know about the heavenly poison evil body too? Sigh, the southern border is really in turmoil recently. A few young cultivators gathered together. They didn't even enter the city gate and started to talk about the recent events in the southern border. It is said that the heavenly poison lady was actually a disciple of the celestial mystic sect. The demon sect of the southern border and the experts of the sea race joined forces to destroy the celestial mystic sect. In a fit of anger, the heavenly poison lady killed the 8 god emperors of the sea region with poison. I'm so cunning? It's indeed a forbidden body. That's not all. It is said that the heavenly poison lady has taken control of the demon sect and has vowed to unify the southern border. Is that true? What is her cultivation level? The Ocean Emperor conquered the sea race for 100 years. Can she defeat the Ocean Emperor? What's there to be surprised about? Haven't you heard? A young demon came to the sea region recently. He specializes in killing the geniuses of the sea region. Several royal geniuses have already died in his hands. I know. That young demon is extremely arrogant. Wherever he goes, he will tell everyone that he is a demon. He is a demon, and, most importantly, this demon kills demons. It is said that several successors of the Sky Border City have also died in his hands. and he is the subordinate of the heavenly poison lady. So arrogant? That's killing all demons and demons. Brother, the southern border has changed. The newborn calf is not afraid of the tiger. Now these demons are all gifted. Once the heavenly poison appears, who can compete with them? You're not telling the whole story. I also heard that the ancient overlord of the sea region, the heavenly crocodile clan, has not been destroyed. Now, there is a descendant of the heavenly crocodile clan who has joined forces with the demons to conquer the sea region. What? The heavenly crocodile clan? It's indeed a chaotic world. These demons and demons and demons and demons and demons have appeared. Everyone's spirits were lifted. They added oil and vinegar as they recounted the secrets of the sea. Why was this rumor so provocative? Of course, it was because it was exciting. Since you don't know who I am, I can do whatever I want. Gulp. Phoenix Rouge stood in the crowd, his eyes trembling. Killing the 8 great god emperors of the sea region with poison. Who was the one who started this rumor? If I were that powerful, would I still need to hide here and struggle at death's door? This was a conspiracy, a conspiracy. Someone wants to kill me. Everyone, that heavenly poison lady doesn't seem to have a high cultivation, right? Are these rumors true? Phoenix Rouge took a deep breath and asked softly. It's true. I swear on my life that what I said just now is true. The sky poison body was a taboo of the Xingzhou continent. What did it have to do with cultivation? It said that one look at such a potent poison would cause one's entire body to fester. God emperors don't even dare to fight against it. One of the pockmarked youths said solemnly. It's getting more and more bizarre. Phoenix Rouge swallowed his saliva and wanted to refute, but he didn't know how to start. Everyone, do you know what the sky poison evil body looks like? Of course, she's called Phoenix Rouge. She's extremely beautiful. It's said that even the saint of the sacred sect was deceived by her beauty. Look, her portrait is pasted on the city gate. The pockmarked youth pointed at the city gate in the distance with a proud expression. But don't worry, everyone. It's said that the first divine messenger of the sacred sect has already rushed back to the immortal mystic sect to investigate this matter. The Ocean Emperor has also secretly issued a decree to investigate the whereabouts of the heavenly crocodile's descendant. Now that the 2 9th-grade god emperors have joined forces, I'm afraid they want to strangle these demons in the cradle. Brother, you seem to be a demon too, right? What kind of demon am I? I just slaughtered 2 villages. Compared to the sky poison lady, I'm nothing. You guys, are you going to enter the city or not? Just as the few of them were bragging, a stern shout suddenly came from below the city gate. Enter, enter, Lord. We're going to enter the city now. Everyone's face trembled as they turned around and walked into the city. Only Phoenix Rouge quietly left the crowd and went in the opposite direction. Why does that lady look so familiar? The pockmarked youth suddenly stopped and looked a little confused. When he saw the portrait on the city gate, his eyes widened. Sky Poison Lady! Boom! The entire Sky Edge ancient city was instantly filled with countless spiritual light. Phoenix Rouge didn't dare to hesitate. Her body lit up with 39 rays of mysterious light as she desperately escaped from the island. Behind her, the sound of wind breaking resounded. At the same time, the news of the Sky Poison Lady's appearance in the depths of the sea spread to all the clans in the sea. Azure World, Brahma Sacred Ground. This place was filled with divine trees and blooming Buddhist light. Countless chanting sounds could be heard, revealing the majesty of the treasured statue. Green mountains stood tall and there were incense totems. There was a reclining Buddha in the mountain, shining with golden Buddhist light that made people feel peaceful. As the most famous Buddhist sacred ground in the Azure World, Brahma Sacred Ground had always been revered by thousands of clans. Even the top forces in this world had to bow their heads in front of the Buddha and pray for their long-cherished wishes. People often said that if one kneels in Mount Lingzhu for a day, the Buddha will protect them for the rest of their lives. On the stone path in the mountain, there were pious figures kneeling or prostrating with their palms together. There were also some who had a melodious aura and terrifying spiritual power. At this moment, in an ancient temple at the peak of the mountain, a Buddhist light suddenly shot into the sky and turned into a Buddha shadow that was 100 feet tall. It stood tall in the sky and attracted many people's attention. An old monk with white eyebrows and a beard walked out of the temple and headed toward the ancient temple. Golden lotuses bloomed under his feet and evolved into auspicious signs. Outside his body, dragons and elephants took shape. His Buddhist skills had reached the peak. However, there was no trace of joy on his face at this moment. Instead, there was a hint of seriousness on his face. When he pushed open the ancient temple's wooden door that was covered in dust and saw a figure sitting peacefully inside, the seriousness in his eyes dissipated a little. That figure was wearing a moon-white kasaya, and there was a golden jade Buddhist bead hanging around her neck that shone with an ancient light. There was no scar on her smooth head. However, there was a red lotus in between her eyebrows. It did not look demonic, but it revealed a supreme Buddhist nature. She was actually a female monk. At this moment, her eyes were closed and her long eyelashes were trembling slightly. Her jade-like beautiful face seemed a little pale. She was ethereal and as light as smoke. There was a Buddhist charm circulating around her body. A golden dragon was entrenched and an auspicious unicorn was kneeling on its hooves. It reflected the 9 heavens and shone down on the myriad of worlds. It was indescribably mysterious. Suddenly, a trace of blood fell from the corner of the female monk's mouth. She clenched her jade-like hand over her heart and suddenly opened her eyes. Endless Buddhist light suddenly appeared, and there seemed to be chanting scriptures in the world. How can it be? How can he be a demon? Her eyes were a little flustered, which was the complete opposite of her ethereal temperament. Even the Buddhist nature in her body was annihilated at this moment. The tribulation of 1,000 generations and the difficulty of 10,000 generations. I didn't expect that in the last tribulation, I would break my Buddhist heart and be aroused by lust? Sigh. Silly child. Behind her, the white-bearded old monk shook his head slightly and turned to leave. There is no Bodhi tree, nor is there a mirror. There is nothing in the first place, so how can there be dust? Yaoguang, the Buddha has decreed that the world is in chaos. There are demons and demons wreaking havoc in the 9 heavens. Since this is your tribulation, you should be the one to transcend it. Only by cutting off the roots of evil can you become a Buddha. You take care of yourself. Yes, Master. The female monk Yutan stood up and put her palms together. She bowed to the old monk who was leaving. Her face had already calmed down. However, the trace of blood at the corner of her mouth dripped onto her kasaya. It was a shocking sight. In the depths of her eyes, there seemed to be a warm and handsome face that was gradually becoming clearer. Benefactor, you have broken my Buddhist heart and destroyed my Buddhist nature. I will kill you to become a Buddha. Inexplicably, a hint of surprise flashed in the female monk's eyes. Why do I have such a murderous nature? And why do I feel that benevolence is a sin and that the mortal world is too tiring when I think of him? I heard that 9 out of 10 times love is filled with sorrow. Is this sorrow the contract for me to become a Buddha or the tribulation for me to become a demon? Chapter 719. Boundless Sea Domain, Beside the Forgotten Isle. Shi Er's expression was one of despair as she looked at the 2 white bone spears piercing through the sky, her eyes revealing a touch of sadness. The spear just now had destroyed her divine shadow and exhausted her spiritual energy. Now that the 2 spears had pierced her, she was afraid that she would not be able to escape. She did not expect that after 6 years of seclusion, she would be reduced to such a state after coming out. She had lost both her love and her life. This was the consequence of not respecting her master's words. Buzz! An ear-piercing droning sound resounded with a bang as two 30-m-long ferocious spears tore through the sky and split the sky apart. They were like meteors from outer space as they descended toward Shi-Er. Young master, we can go now. In the sky, Gu Quan turned around and looked at Gu Ao as he said indifferently. Shi-Er sighed softly and her lips curled into a bitter smile. In the end, there was nothing she could do. However, just as she struggled to stand up, her eyes were filled with determination. She wanted to fight to the death. The void in front of her suddenly rippled. Then, a white-robed figure descended from the heavens. His robes fluttered in the wind, and his Taoist rhymes were naturally formed. He stood in front of her, blocking her path. At this moment, heaven and earth lost their splendor. Only that peerless whiteness, like a thread of obsession, was deeply engraved in his heart. Is that Lord Ling Xiao? Boom! Thousands of runes soared into the sky and turned heaven and earth into a silvery white. However, this white was different from the white bone spear. It was a brilliant silver. The blue sky collapsed and there was a strong wind blowing in all directions. The sea domain was shattered and waves were set off. They fell from the sky again. The rainstorm had just arrived, but it could not hide the brilliance. Gu Ao and Gu Ao stopped. They turned around and looked at the brilliance. Their eyes narrowed. It wasn't until the silver light in the heavens and the earth was completely extinguished that the two of them were shocked to see a white-clothed figure standing in front of Shi-Er. His hands were held horizontally, and he actually held the bone spear in his hands. Terrifying! It was ridiculous! The bone spear was the innate ability of the Bone Clam clan. Now it was used by a god-emperor. However, it was caught by that young man. Miss Shi-Er, we meet again. Ling Zhao's back was facing Shi-Er. He turned his head and revealed a perfect side profile. There was a gentle smile at the corner of his mouth. In the next moment, he suddenly clenched his fist, and the two bone spears instantly shattered, turning into powder that filled the sky and scattered with the wind. Shi-Er stared blankly at Ling Xiao. Her beautiful eyes gradually widened until her jade-like hands covered her red lips, unable to speak. If there was anyone in this world who could be called peerless, it would be this young master in front of him. Compared to him, Qin Yu was simply trash, scum, and trash. Beep, Destiny's daughter has developed feelings for the villain Sky Demon. Congratulations to host for obtaining 500 luck points and 5,000 villain points. It's you! Gu Ao's eyes narrowed, his face showing an unnatural fear. Although the human youth in front of him didn't look very old, and he didn't even exude much power from his body. However, inexplicably, Gu Ao always felt that his starry eyes were like a cage that could trap people's mind. You dare to snatch the things that I gave out? Ling Zhao's expression was calm, but the words that came out of his mouth were filled with an unquestionable dominance. Lord Ling Xiao, you better leave quickly. There is still a peak 6th grade Divine Emperor beside Gu Ao. Wait for him to return. He won't be able to return. Before Shi-Er's voice fell, Ling Xiao had already smiled and shook his head. The ancient sword in his hand was held horizontally, and he pointed it at Gu Ao. What? At this moment, Gu Ao only felt a chill rising from the bottom of his heart. Without any hesitation, he turned around and fled towards the end of the sea. Gu Quan! Stop him! Yes, young master! Gu Quan's expression turned cold. Although he didn't know why young master would be so afraid of a young man, but this young man seemed to be quite powerful. Buzz! Dazzling spiritual light filled the sky. Tao runes began to form around Gu Quan's body. In his hand, a white ancient seal revealed its true form, blooming with divine light. Then, Gu Quan held the seal with one hand and descended from the sky. All of his spiritual energy gathered in the seal. Spiritual wind whistled in the heavens and the earth, and demonic aura swept across the area. In just a short moment, the bone seal turned into a huge mountain, covering the sky and the sun. It wanted to kill Ling Xiao and Shi together. From the beginning until the end, Ling Xiao's expression didn't change at all. A Sea Clan Divine Emperor who had cultivated for hundreds of years was only at the second-grade Divine Emperor realm. He wasn't a threat to him at all. Of course, Ling Xiao could summon Xing Shun and the others, and they could kill this person with a wave of his hand. But when it came to winning the heart of a girl, he had to do it himself. Big brother is mighty, big brother is brave. Only then can little sister's heart and body tremble. You're overestimating yourself. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and the ancient sword in his hand suddenly slashed down. A ray of black light tore through the clouds. It was as though a demonic figure had descended from the ancient times, and it swept across the sky towards Gu Quan. The heavens and earth dimmed, as though they couldn't bear the power of the saber. Even if Ling Xiao didn't use his demonic intent, how many people in the world could resist the evil god's saber style? The saber intent pierced through the clouds and split the blue sky in half. Gu Quan felt a chill in his glabella, and the divine seal in front of him suddenly cracked. Then, he felt a little frightened as he felt that he had lost control of his body. Plop! Blood rained down from the sky like rain. Ling Xiao raised his head and looked into the distance. There, a figure slowly walked over, holding something in his hand. Upon closer inspection, it was Gu Ao. Master! Xiaopa bowed and casually threw the young lord of the Bone Clan in front of Ling Xiao. With his divine emperor realm, it was easy for him to capture a divine overlord. Master! Master! Please don't. It's all that Qing Yu's fault. He was the one who instigated me to attack Shi. He also said that Shi was his woman, but she betrayed him. Master! It's all my fault. It's all my fault for losing my mind and believing that bastard. Gu Ao knelt in the void and cried his heart out. Especially the bone right below him that had been cut in half by Ling Xiao, it caused the coldness in his heart to grow even stronger. Unknowingly, his clothes had already been drenched in urine. Qing Yu! Hearing this, Shi clenched her jade-like hands, and her beautiful eyes flashed with hatred. You decide whether to kill him or not. Ling Xiao said calmly and turned to look at the girl beside him. I decide. Shi was obviously stunned. No matter what, Ling Xiao had already killed 2 divine emperors of the Bone Clan. If she let Gu Ao go, wasn't he afraid that the latter would seek revenge? It was very sudden. It was the feeling of being trusted. Master! Master, of course, according to Shi-er's temperament, she didn't want to provoke the Sea King clan. What's more, the young lord of the demonic Crow clan died because of her. Although he deserved to die, it was a disaster for the Golden Scale clan behind her. Master did dote on her a lot, but Shi knew her master's character well. She dominated the world and controlled the world alone. All living beings were chess pieces, and thousands of demons were only useful and useless. Compared to the demonic Crow clan, the Golden Scale clan was indeed weak and pitiful. Therefore, in her master's eyes, Zhang Wu's death was nothing. However, it was naturally impossible for her to destroy the demonic Crow clan because of this. In the end, she only cared about herself and not the Golden Scale clan. Or rather, she cared about her own path of domination. Otherwise, with her decree, who would dare to provoke her in the sea? However, she didn't. She was worried that if she fell into the hands of others, it would become a check on her authority. Therefore, in these 6 years, Shi had never left the Ocean Emperor Palace. It's okay. If you don't want to kill him, I'll spare his life. There's nothing to worry about. However, I have to remind you that if you don't remove the roots, there will be endless trouble in the future. Ling Xiao's tone was calm, but it made Shi feel even more grateful. Of course, no matter what choice Shi made, it wouldn't affect Ling Xiao's next plan. Gu Ao was only a part of the plan. Of course, the plan was divided into A and B. Thank you for your consideration, Master. However, he was also used by others. I don't think he will do anything stupid again. Master. Monsieur, don't worry. I won't dare to do it again. Gu Ao's face was filled with fear. He quickly kowtowed and begged for mercy. Chapter 720. Scram. Ling Xiao nodded and said calmly. Gu Ao immediately felt as if he had been pardoned. He turned around and rushed towards the distance. However, at this moment, although there was fear in his eyes, it could not hide the extreme resentment in them. But, just as he fled 100 miles away, the sky above his head suddenly darkened. Gu Ao looked up blankly, only to see a demonic figure several feet tall descending from the sky and stepping on his body. Where did this great demon come from? What a joke! How could Ling Xiao be kind when he did things? Although this sea region royal family was no longer a threat to him. However, once Gu Ao fled back to the clan, it would be difficult to avoid more trouble. Moreover, Ling Xiao's chess game still lacks some actors. I think this Gu Ao has a big head and looks very smart. With him leading the Bone Clam clan into the chess game, it will be even more realistic. Don't kill me! Don't! Gu Ao's figure fell from the sky and landed in the sea region. Just as he was about to use his true body to escape, he saw a large hand descending from the sky and grabbing his head. Young master, Shi owes you my life again. I don't know how to repay you. Shi-er's face was shy as she bowed towards Ling Xiao. It's fine. The black heaven water flower is indeed rare. When I came out of the Forgotten Isle, I heard that someone couldn't forget it. I think you should fuse with it first. Ling Xiao's expression was indifferent, but it was no longer as indifferent as before. Hearing this, Shi-er's face flashed with a blush. Is young master planning to protect me? That's right. She had traveled all the way south. If she wanted to return to the clan, there would be many dangers along the way. As long as she fused with the Black Heaven Waterflower, her cultivation would definitely improve. This way she would have more protection. Young master. Qingyu, in the end, Shi-er still asked this name. Although now, she felt disgusted when she thought of what Qingyu had done. However, the desolate Heaven Ancient Tablet was still in his hand. If he really died in the hands of Lord Ling Xiao, I don't want to take back the Ancient Tablet, I just want to remind him that this item is an important treasure of the Sea Clan. If Master finds out that it has fallen into the hands of a human youth, it will definitely bring a lot of trouble to young Master. Oh, Qingyu seems to have a supreme treasure that can shift space. At the last moment, he managed to escape. However, he suffered a palm strike from my servant. I don't think he will survive. Ling Xiao said indifferently, and the worry in Shi-er's eyes dissipated a lot. Thank you, young master, for avenging me. In that case, I'll find a place to fuse with the water essence first. All right, I'll protect you. Ling Xiao nodded. He took a step forward and flew away. Behind Ling Xiao, Shi-er hesitated for a moment before a brilliant light flashed on her face, and she followed Ling Xiao. At night, the moonlight shone down, illuminating the entire sea as if the Milky Way had descended. At this moment, Ling Xiao stood with his hands behind his back on an uninhabited island in the ocean, and he gazed into the distance. In a cave on a lonely mountain behind him, there was a faint flow of the power of a formation. Clearly, Shi-er was fusing with the water essence there. With Ling Xiao's personal arrangement, the girl had already closed her mind and no longer had any distractions. However, she probably never dreamed that Ling Xiao's action was not to protect her, but to stop her from spying and delay her return to her clan. If he wanted Shi-er to submit completely, a simple hero saving a beauty was obviously not enough. Especially now, she was already disappointed in love. It would be difficult for her to truly trust someone in a short period of time. This was a psychological problem, and it had to be cured with strong medicine. Ling Xiao still hoped that Shi-er would bring him to meet the Sea Emperor, so that he could conquer this overlord of the sea. If he could not get the system's approval, he did not dare to take this risk. "Shi your master wants to kill me." "Master? If you want to kill him, kill me first." In Ling Zhao's opinion, the Sea Emperor might not be a sentimental person. However, as long as he was given a chance, he was confident that he could persuade this greedy empress to become a pawn in his hands. Because today, the overlapping images sent a message that Izhan was found. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. This was especially true for a cruel and ambitious tyrant. The rules and order were like child's play to him. Only benefits were the criteria for power and authority. "Lord!" Xiong Huan's figure fell from the sky and stood in front of Ling Xiao. In his hand, Gu Ao looked frightened, and there was unwillingness in his eyes. "Liar! You liar! You said you would let me live." At this time, he felt that his life was coming to an end, so he didn't have too many concerns. "Why don't you let me go crazy before I die?" Besides, this young man in front of him was vicious and merciless. If he fell into his hands, how could he survive? "Young Master Gu, I can let you live, but the premise is that you have to be used by me." Ling Xiao smiled evilly, and there seemed to be a soul light flickering in his eyes. Gu Ao's face turned dull almost instantly, and then he knelt on the ground with a plop. "Young Master, as long as you spare my life, I will listen to you." "Okay, open your soul sea." Ling Xiao nodded indifferently. His soul consciousness turned into a seal, fell into Gu Ao's soul sea, and dissipated. "Go, quietly exterminate the Golden Scale clan. Remember, deliberately leave a trace and let people know that this clan was exterminated by you." Ling Zhao's mouth raised a smile, but Gu Ao suddenly tilted his head and looked at Ling Xiao. He put his finger in his mouth and seemed to be lost in thought. "What is this young master selling in his gourd? Why did he ask me to quietly exterminate the Golden Scale clan and let people know that I was the one who did it?" Now that the Ocean Emperor was in charge of the sea area, all clans were in harmony. Although there were often small disputes, exterminating a clan had been a long time ago. But fortunately, this Golden Scale clan was a small clan, and their strongest was only a 4th-grade Emperor God. It was not difficult to exterminate them. Even if the Ocean Emperor blamed me, he would never become enemies with my Bone Clam clan. Yes. In the end, Gu Ao could not figure out the reason, and he turned and disappeared into the darkness. Only when his figure completely disappeared did a smile appear on Ling Zhao's face. "Everyone is a chess piece, and I am the chess player." Since the chess piece had been placed, the next step was to wait for the game to unfold. Haha, let me correct one thing. I, Ling Xiao, am not an evil demon who slaughters clans wherever I go. I naturally have my reasons for slaughtering it. According to the information obtained by Folded Shadow, Ling Xiao already knew that the sea clan that Izhan was hiding in was the head of the 10 great royal clans, the Flood Dragon clan. Before Ziyan unified the sea domain, this clan was worthy of being called the #1 clan in the Endless Sea. There were many experts in the clan, and their vassals were huge. Even now, 3 of the 10 great royal clans were their vassals. However, this Flood Dragon clan was originally a slave clan of the Heavenly Alligator clan. Now that Izhan had appeared, they were naturally unwilling to submit to Ziyan. Moreover, Ziyan's methods were cruel. She used absolute force to suppress the sea domain, and this had already caused many sea clan experts to resent her. In this way, the Flood Dragon clan would definitely wait for Izhan to grow and use this chance to overthrow Ziyan's tyrannical rule. Holding the emperor to order the vassals, this had happened since ancient times. Unfortunately, will I give you the time? It has been 300 years. No matter how serious your injuries are, they should be more or less healed, right? Izhan, soon I will help you return to your ancestral land. At that time, the Sea Clan will be in chaos, and that will be the time for me to control Ziyan. After all, the Heavenly Alligator was the descendant of the Sea Emperor, the lackey of the Immortal Clan. Ziyan snatching Ijan's Yao Dan and immortal source was already a matter that infuriated all the Yao gods. Now, Ling Xiao only needed to reveal Ijan's identity, and even Ziyan would not dare to kill him openly. Because once she did that, it would definitely cause real turmoil in the Sea clan. It was best not to touch things like faith. There was no emperor who did not care about public opinion. Cruelty was just a method, but if there were no demons in the Sea domain, what was the meaning of the Sea Emperor's position? Therefore, Ziyan, I will help you kill Ijan and restore your stability. You help me kill the divine envoy and help me flatten the sacred sect, okay? Chapter 721. The night passed in the blink of an eye. When the sky lit up the next day, a terrifying spiritual wind suddenly blew over the entire island. Dense water vapor spread like mist. Wherever it passed, withered trees would come back to life and old branches would sprout. Ling Xiao opened his eyes, and spiritual power also surged around him. He raised his head and looked at the cave filled with runes. At this moment, he could see a dark light shining in the cave. A faint demon figure stood in the void, revealing a desolate aura. It was obvious that Shi-Er's bloodline was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. In fact, although Ling Xiao had never seen Ziyan before, he could feel from Yi's words that the Sea Emperor was not a sentimental person. She could trick Yi and his son into falling into the same trap. Ziyan's fickleness could be seen. However, she had accepted a disciple at a time when the sea was in turmoil. If you said that Shi-Er did not have any secrets, no one would believe you. Desolate bloodline? Could it be that Shi-Er was not from the Golden Scale Race? Double Shadow, go to the Golden Scale Race. When the Bone Race makes their move, search the Golden Scale Race's leader's soul and investigate Shi-Er's origins. Ling Xiao took out a voice transmission talisman and said softly, "Yes, Master." It wasn't until the spiritual radiance and spiritual mist disappeared that tribulation clouds began to gather above the deserted island and dazzling lightning flashed. Has the Tao law broken through? Ling Xiao's eyes narrowed. He suddenly stretched out his hand and directly turned it into a lightning sun that pierced through the sky and dispersed the tribulation clouds. Since the chess piece had been placed, he should also move and head to the Golden Scale Race. Actors, please take your positions. Your great director and producer is already on the way. Let us paddle and make waves in the sea to our heart's content. The surface of the sea reflects your corpses, and my demonic soldiers surround you. As Ling Xiao waved his hand and removed the spiritual array at the entrance of the cave, Shi-Er's figure slowly walked out. At this moment, there was a bright smile on her face. Even the blue rune between her eyebrows seemed to emit a different glow. Great success in the Tao Law, 4,000 Providence. The 1,000 fate points that Ling Xiao had just plundered were returned with a bang. Young Master. Looks like it went very smoothly. Since that's the case, let's part ways here. Ling Xiao nodded indifferently and turned to leave. Young Master! Shi-Er exclaimed, but she didn't know what to say. Although Ling Xiao had saved her life twice, in the end, she had only seen him 3 times. Miss Shi-Er, is there anything else? Ling Xiao stopped and turned back to look at Shi-Er. There was some doubt between his brows. Oh, it's nothing. I just wanted to ask where young Master is going. Shi-Er lowered her head and rubbed the corners of her clothes, but Ling Xiao smiled and shook his head. I heard that in the depths of the sea, there is a majestic city called the Ancient City of Heaven's Edge. There are many evil spirits gathered in the city, so I want to go and take a look. Sky Edge Ancient City. Shi-Er's pretty face froze for a moment before it flashed with excitement. Young Master, the Ancient City of Heaven's Edge is less than 100 miles away from my Golden Scale tribe. I can bring young Master there. Oh? That's great. I was worried that I would get lost in this vast sea. Ling Xiao was also a little surprised, but he sneered in his heart. This whole show was arranged by me. How could I not know that the Golden Scale tribe is just beside the ancient city of Heaven's Edge? Young master. Then let's go. The gloominess on Shi-Er's pretty face was swept away and turned into a bright smile. Then, she took the initiative to walk to Ling Zhao's side and smiled mischievously. Young master, do you want to go on the sea or under the sea? Oh? Which is faster? It's about the same, but it's more ostentatious on the sea. It's easier to enter the territory of other tribes under the sea. Then let's go on the sea. Ostentatious? What I want now is to be ostentatious. Otherwise, how could I attract the attention of the Ocean Emperor? Ling Xiao could exterminate the Bone Pride tribe. But this tribe wasn't where Ling Zhao's target was. His real target was the Flood Dragon tribe. If the Ocean Emperor could descend, it would be even more interesting. Okay. Then, young master, follow me closely. Shi-Er's face turned red. She took a step forward and turned into a ray of light. Ling Xiao put his hands behind his back and followed closely, striding towards the depths of the sea. To be honest, the entire sea was like Dio. Other than the water, there was only the island left. Occasionally, a few fish jumped out of the sea, but they were caught by Ling Xiao and thrown into the territory. 3 days later, the silhouette of a majestic city appeared at the end of their line of sight. Shi-Er's figure stopped in midair. Young master, that city is the ancient city of Heaven's Edge. However, there are many fugitives there. If young master wants to go to the island, you'd better be careful. Okay, then let's part ways here. Ling Xiao nodded. Just as he was about to take a step, he saw Shi-Er's face turn red. She said shyly, Young master, the Golden Scale tribe is just below this sea. If young master isn't in a hurry to go to the island, why don't you come to my tribe and sit? Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly. However, he saw that Shi-Er's eyes were flustered. She was obviously a little shy. Young master, it just so happens that I can return the 2 Dao artifacts to you. Okay, then go and do it. Ling Xiao did not refuse. Instantly, a bright smile bloomed on Shi-Er's face. Young master, follow me. Shi-Er grabbed Ling Zhao's hand and dragged him into the sea. Spiritual light scattered around her, separating her from the sea. It was as dazzling as the stars. When the two of them landed at the bottom of the sea, Ling Xiao realized that the world of the sea was actually not much different from the human territory. There were also ups and downs, seaweed, mountains, and barren land. However, there was no sun or moon at the bottom of the sea. Only the place where the sea tribe gathered would have ancient temples, watchtowers, and spiritual pearls. However, just as Shi-Er was leading Ling Xiao through the sea with joy in her eyes, a solemn expression gradually appeared on her face. At this moment, the two of them could feel the faint scent of blood floating in the sea. Young master, we're here. Shi-Er's figure landed in front of an ancient stone temple. Her eyes were nervous and even a little flustered. It was too quiet. It was currently daytime, but there was no sound from the entire Golden Scale tribe. The stone door of the ancient temple was tightly shut. However, it was still difficult to conceal the scent of blood inside. Just as Shi-Er lifted her foot and was about to walk toward the ancient temple, Ling Xiao grabbed her hand and shook his head slightly. Let me. As soon as he finished speaking, lightning suddenly bloomed outside Ling Xiao's body. All the living beings in the sea within thousands of miles felt a sense of numbness circulating. He took a step forward and stood in front of the ancient temple. Then, he stretched out his hand and gently pushed it aside. Whoosh! The dense scent of blood rushed toward them along with the waves. Immediately afterward, golden-scaled corpses rushed out of the temple. They covered the sky and the earth. It was a shocking scene. No. Shi-Er covered her red lips with her hand. Her eyes were already filled with tears. How can this be? How can this be? Mother! Father! Ling Xiao frowned slightly and slowly walked into the temple. he saw that in the middle of the temple, a middle-aged man's limbs, heart, and monster core were pierced by 9 bone spears. He was nailed to a pillar. At this moment there was still a trace of life in his body. However, his heart meridians were broken and his monster core was shattered. It seemed that he would not survive. No. Father! How can this be? Who is it? Who is it? Chapter 7:22. Bone Spear. Is it from the Bone Clan? Ling Zhao's eyes narrowed as he reached out to stop Shi-Er, who was running towards the middle-aged man. It's useless. Instead, it will make him suffer even more. Father! Who is it? Who is it? Shi-Er's beautiful eyes were blood-red, and her expression was incomparably miserable. At this moment, how could she not see the origin of the bone spear? She just didn't expect that Gu Ao would be so crazy as to slaughter hundreds of her Golden Scale clan. Shi-Er, you're back. The middle-aged man tried his best to open his eyes, and a sincere smile bloomed on his face. Don't take revenge for us. Quickly leave. Go find your master and never come back. No. Father. No. It's Gu Ao. It's Gu Ao, right? Shi-Er's heart was filled with regret. Ling Xiao had already warned her that if she didn't remove the roots, there would be endless trouble in the future. But at that time, she didn't expect that Gu Ao would know her identity and vent his anger on the Golden Scale clan. Qin Yu. It must be that bastard Qin Yu who told him. At this moment, Shi-Er wished that she could cut the two of them into 1,000 pieces and swallow them alive. Cough cough, Shi-Er. It's good that you're safe and sound. Don't think about taking revenge for us. Bone Clan. We can't afford to provoke them. Moreover, behind Gu Ao, there are others who you can provoke. Be obedient. Quickly leave. Blood kept dripping from the corner of the Golden Scale clan's clan master's mouth, but the anticipation in his eyes was soul-stirring. Father! No matter who it is, I will make them pay the price. She roared in despair, her tears falling down and turning into jade beads on the ground. Seeing this scene, Ling Zhao's eyes narrowed. Especially at this moment, the demonic aura that suddenly gathered behind Shi-Er, faintly turning into a silver-white dragon shadow, standing tall in the sky. However, this dragon shadow was not a true dragon in the traditional sense. Instead, it was a strange demonic shadow with a female head, a human body, and a dragon tail. Dragon Lady? Ling Zhao's eyes were clear as if he suddenly thought of something. No wonder this small Golden Scale clan had such a destiny that the Sea Emperor Ziyan would accept her as a disciple. It turned out that this Shi-Er actually had a trace of true dragon's bloodline flowing in her body. It was rumored that when a true dragon mated with a human, they would give birth to offspring. The male would be a dragon's son, and the female would be a dragon's daughter. They would have the head of a human and the body of a dragon. Their hearts were exquisite and their tears were like pearls. They could condense a monster core, and they could also practice human cultivation method. They were blessed by heaven. However, regardless of whether it was the dragon son or the dragon daughter, they were all pets of creation. They were truly monsters and were restricted by the heavenly Tao. Most of them died in the womb. Although there were legends in the world, no one had ever seen the true face of the Dragon Lady. Ling Xiao didn't expect to see this legendary creature as soon as he entered the sea. However, if that was the case, Shi-Er's origin was probably not something that the Golden Scale clan could give birth to. However, in the entire Xingzhou, there was no such thing as a true dragon. Could it be that she also came from the upper realm? Cough cough, Shi-Er, actually, your mother and I have been hiding something from you. The master of the Golden Scale tribe sighed softly. His eyes became gentler and kinder. He's here. Hearing this, the corners of Ling Zhao's mouth curled up into a smile. Previously, he had received a message from the overlapping images saying that Shi-Er's origin was quite mysterious and was a top secret of the Golden Scale tribe. Even the elder of the Golden Scale tribe, who used the overlapping image's soul search, did not know where she was born. Originally, Ling Xiao was still thinking about how to quietly search the master of the Golden Scale tribe. He didn't expect this old thing to take the initiative to reveal this secret. This 5th grade spirit recovery pill can help you hold on for a while. If you have anything to say it quickly. Ling Xiao took out a white jade pill and stuffed it into the master of the Golden Scale tribe's mouth. His tone was rather helpless. "Thank you, young master." The master of the Golden Scale tribe's eyes flashed with gratitude. What a good person. He was already a dying man, but this young master was still willing to waste a 5th grade pill. This kind of righteous act was worth entrusting Shi-Er to. "Father, don't speak, I beg you, don't speak." Shi-Er stretched out her hand, wanting to cover the bloody hole in the master of the Golden Scale tribe's body. However, the latter shook his head, and his eyes revealed a hint of vicissitudes of life. "Shi-Er, actually, you are not my child." "What?" Shi-Er's beautiful face turned pale, and her delicate body trembled slightly. She was pulled into Ling Xiao's embrace. "Could it be? I am mother and someone else. In fact, even I don't know where you came from." The master of the Golden Scale tribe sighed softly. "You were originally a piece of golden jade that had been passed down for thousands of years in my Golden Scale tribe. You were born with a natural Tao rhythm and were the foundation of my tribe. However, 100 years ago this golden jade suddenly gave birth to life. Your mother and I carefully took care of it, and only then did we wait for you to break out of the jade and grow up." "Golden jade?" Shi-Er's beautiful face was stunned. Obviously, she did not expect her origin to be so complicated. However, at this moment, Ling Xiao had a guess in his heart. Bullshit golden jade. This Golden Scale tribe had most likely guarded an egg for thousands of years. However, it seemed that Shi-Er's true dragon bloodline might not have been inherited from her father, but from her mother. After all, he had never heard of anyone laying eggs. However, now Ling Xiao had also guessed why Ziyan had taken Shi-Er as a disciple. Perhaps she knew Shi-Er's origin, or she had seen through her bloodline. Whether in the primitive era or the immemorial era, the true dragon bloodline was the orthodox bloodline of the demon clan. Although the heavenly alligator tribe was the overlord of the endless sea, it was only because the ancestor of the heavenly alligator tribe was the mount of an ancient god. However, the true dragon bloodline was on the same level as the ancient gods. It was said that at the beginning of the immemorial era, the first great demon that was born was the ancestor dragon of the primordial era. It had the power to control heaven and earth, and was the god of all demons. In other words, it was true that the heavenly alligator tribe was the overlord of the sea, but the true dragon was the demon god in the hearts of all the demon clans in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Therefore, after Ziyan had failed and let Yizhan escape, this woman had prepared a backup plan for herself. In the future, if the heavenly alligator tribe really caused trouble, she could use the true dragon bloodline as an excuse to suppress them. No wonder this woman had never announced the existence of Shi-Er of the Sea tribe. She was planning to keep Shi-Er as a backup plan, a trump card. Suddenly, Ling Xiao became more and more interested in this new Sea tribe emperor. This was a villain who also put benefits above all. However, he did not know what the Sea Emperor was scheming to unify the Sea tribe. Cough, cough. This young master. In the end, the Golden Scale Clan master's gaze landed on Ling Xiao. From the very beginning, he had noticed this young man with immortal Taoist rhymes and clear and deep eyes. From him, the Golden Scale Clan master could feel a strong sense of righteousness. Although humans and demons had different paths, the Sea tribe was in turmoil now. Shi-Er was still young, so he felt at ease to entrust her to this human young master. More importantly, with his cultivation level as a 4th stage divine emperor, he could not see through this young man's strength at all. Actually, it was not necessary to entrust her to him. The main thing was that there was no one else here. Clan Master. Ling Xiao nodded calmly, a hint of bitterness flashing in his eyes. I see that you are full of righteousness. You must be a talent of the human race. Shi is still young, and she has offended a powerful tribe. I hope that you can take care of her. Cough, cough. This, Ling Xiao looked troubled. He turned to look at Shi, sighed softly, and nodded slowly. I promise the clan master that I will treat her like my own sister in the future. Young master. Righteousness. Chapter 7:23. Cough, 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 cough. Young master, I'm afraid I can't take it any more. Shi, I'll leave it to you. The Golden Scale Clan Master coughed out a pool of blood, then took a deep look at Shi and breathed his last. Father! Shi-er's face was pale, and her eyes were filled with sorrow. Although, before the Golden Scale Clan's clan leader died, he told her about her origins. The two of them were not related by blood. But after all, Shi had been with them for more than 10 years. Now that the Golden Scale Clan was slaughtered, the hatred in her heart could be imagined. Let's bury them first. Ling Xiao sighed and gently patted Shi-er's shoulder. The dead can't come back to life. Shi, in the future, you'll be by my side. Woo 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 woo. Young master. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I should have listened to you and killed Gu Ao. Cut him into pieces. Shi threw herself into Ling Xiao's arms and broke down crying. If you cut the grass without removing the roots, there would be no end of trouble. She didn't want to be involved in too much karma for the Golden Scale Clan and attract too many disasters, but she didn't expect that because of her kindness, the entire clan would be ruined. For an entire day, Shi alone buried the hundreds of Golden Scale Clan members in the ancestral land's tomb. Ling Xiao didn't interfere, but he calmly watched the girl go back and forth. In the sea world, there was no distinction between day and night. Therefore, when there were no more corpses in the hall, Shi weakly fell to the ground. At this time, she seemed to be a little confused about her background, and also confused about the road ahead. If she told this to her master, would she help to destroy the Bone Clan? No way. Right now, this clan was one of the most loyal clans in Master's hands. Moreover, the Bone Clan Master's cultivation was at the 7th grade, and he took the initiative to submit to her master. He was now a great general of the latter. In these years, the Bone Clan had made great contributions to her master's unification of the sea. Why would she destroy this royal clan for a small Golden Scale Clan? Unless she died. Suddenly, Shi-er's eyes flashed with determination. With her strength, not to mention destroying the Bone Clan, she might not even be able to defeat Gu Ao. Revenge was still far away. But Shi didn't want to wait for even a moment. She wanted to take a gamble. She wanted to gamble on whether her value was worth her master's wrath. Lord Ling Xiao. Shi only had one Dao artifact in her hands. As for the other one, it would probably be very difficult to return. Thank you for taking care of Shi along the way. Let's part ways here. Shi struggled to get up from the ground and bowed to Ling Xiao. At this moment, her eyes clearly contained a hint of death. However, in Ling Xiao's eyes, this scene was somewhat childish. How could he not guess Shi thoughts? But would a dead person have any value to an ambitious and ruthless person? Villains, who would actually care about feelings. Let's go. Ling Xiao shook his head. The chess piece had been placed, and the game had officially begun. Young master, take care. Shi nodded with a mournful expression. However, just as she took a step forward and was about to leave, she saw Ling Xiao suddenly reach out and grab her hand. Young master. I'll accompany you to the Bone Clan. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently. His starry eyes were deep and resplendent like a celestial charm, instantly reflecting into the girl's heart. Young master, your master should be the current Sea Emperor, Ziyan, right? Ling Xiao smiled. Seeing the girl's slightly serious eyes, he immediately shook his head. You don't have to worry. I'm not interested in the matters of the Sea Clan. However, since I promised the Golden Scale Clan's clan master to take care of you, I naturally won't watch you throw your life away. The Bone Clan is a royal clan of the Endless Sea. If I slaughter them, it will definitely bring a great disaster to you. However, since your master is the Sea Emperor, everything is different. What? Young master, you? To be honest, Shi-Er was completely dumbfounded. From what she heard, he wanted to slaughter an entire royal clan of the Endless Sea Clan alone. How domineering was this? Of course, if it was someone else doing this, they would be somewhat overestimating their own capabilities and asking for humiliation and ridicule. However, it was very inexplicable that a trace of hope gradually appeared in Shi-Er's eyes. She had seen this young master's peerless attitude and knew that there were experts following behind him. Especially that terrifying war puppet that was several zhang tall. It could even casually crush an elder of the demonic Crow clan to death. This might work. Young master, if you can take revenge for Shi-Er, Shi-Er is willing to be your slave for the rest of her life to repay you. In an instant, Shi-Er's eyes turned red and her cheeks became wet. The destined girl wants to submit to the villain who exterminated her clan. Congratulations to the host for plundering 500 luck points and 5,000 villain points. Shi-Er, what are you saying? I did all this because I promised to take care of you in front of the old clan master. You don't have to do this. Ling Zhao's expression was solemn, but he sneered in his heart. That's right. What Dao tools and spiritual treasures? How could they be as fragrant as you? The Dragon Lady was originally the favorite of heaven and earth, and was rarely seen. Although Shi-Er's parents might have died long ago, with her talent and bloodline, she was destined to soar in the 9 heavens and become a helper for Ling Xiao when he stepped into the immortal region in the future. However, he was getting more and more confused. How could this barren land of the Xingzhou continent have so many talented people? Although these people's cultivation levels were not high, each of them was tyrannical and had no talent. As everyone knew, the more ancient the land, the purer the origin of heaven and earth it contained. Only such an ancient land could give birth to peerless geniuses. Could it be that this Xingzhou continent, in addition to being a prison, was hiding an even greater secret? Ling Zhao's eyes narrowed. If Yi Qingchan's memories were still intact, he might be able to find out a thing or two from this foliaceae. But now, this secret could only be found from the Divine Master. However, something was still not right. Back then, the ancestor of the foliaceae that Ling Xiao had killed destroyed his own physical body and used his remnant soul to suppress the demon bone in a futile attempt to possess the sky demon and achieve immortality. If this land had a greater secret than the sky demon bone, how could she not know with her experience and knowledge? If that was the case, why did she need to take the extra step of plotting against the sky demon? Confusing and confusing, the fog rose again. Young master! Just as Ling Xiao was pondering, Shi-Er suddenly hugged him tightly, as if she wanted to merge herself into Ling Zhao's embrace. For the first time in her life, she felt warmth and peace from an outsider. Treat me as my sister? But, young master, I don't want to be your sister. All right, let's go. The bone race is brutal and should be exterminated. Ling Xiao said indifferently. He put away a bone spear on the ground, held Shi-Er's hand, and walked towards the depths of the sea. He did not care about the bone race, but Gu Ao was just a brick. He wanted to use this trash to lure out the real protagonist of this game. Young Master Izhan, are you comfortable in the Flood Dragon clan? What, your Flood Dragon clan doesn't have a young Master Izhan? Do you dare to let me search for him? I guess you don't dare, but it's okay. The Sea Emperor will find an excuse to help me search. Heaven and earth are the game, and you are all chess pieces. Some games cannot be avoided just because you don't want to. Chapter 724. The Bone Clam Clan was a royal clan of the Endless Sea. It was rumored that this clan was the first to submit to the Sea Emperor Ziyen. Even though there were 10 royal clans in the sea, the Bone Clan was still highly regarded by the Sea Emperor. The reason was that this clan looked like a tongue. Therefore, before taking action, Ling Xiao purposely mentioned Shi-Er and the Sea Emperor's identities to ensure his guess was correct. To an ambitious and ruthless person, loyalty and friendship were meaningless. What she valued was always her own interest. I'd rather betray the world than let the world betray me. Thy wife, oh, I digress. In short, if Shi-Er died in the hands of Gu Ao, the Sea Emperor wouldn't destroy the Bone Clan for her. Similarly, if Shi-Er destroyed the Bone Clan, the Sea Emperor wouldn't blame her too much. After all, there was no benefit to be gained from a dead person. When the sea in front of them suddenly emitted a dazzling white light, Ling Xiao's figure landed and looked at a white palace at the end of his sight. Above the palace, spiritual light flickered and tens of thousands of bone pearls were embedded, blooming with a dim light. From afar, the palace looked like an inverted clam shell, beautiful and strange. Compared to the Golden Scale Clan's palace, this palace was undoubtedly several times more majestic. There were many tyrannical auras fluctuating inside, which belonged to the Bone Clan. Stop! Who are you? Just as Ling Xiao and Shi-Er were walking towards the Bone Palace, 6 Bone Clan members suddenly appeared in front of them, blocking their path. Buzz! Without hesitation, Ling Xiao stretched out 2 fingers and chopped down. 6 heads fell neatly on the ground, spreading out a few feet of blood. Shi-Er's eyes narrowed slightly, carefully glancing at Ling Xiao. She didn't know why, but sometimes she felt that this young master was warm and upright, and sometimes she felt that he was too cruel and cold. It was very contradictory but also very fascinating. What's wrong? As if sensing the confusion in Shi-Er's eyes, Ling Xiao turned his head and revealed a gentle smile. Brother, you're so brave. It's nothing. I'm just familiar with it. Ling Xiao's face was indifferent. He turned to look at the Bone Palace, raised his finger, and waved it down. Gu Ao, come out and face your death. Buzz! A wisp of clear light bloomed like the primordial chaos, bringing with it the destruction of 3,000 worlds. Shi-Er only saw the sea in front of her rippling, and then, the distant Bone Palace actually broke apart neatly from the middle. A rich blood aura filled the hall. Obviously, Ling Xiao's finger attack had killed many of the Bone Race extras who hadn't reacted in time. Who is it? Who dares to act so presumptuously in my Bone Race? The entire Bone Race territory suddenly fell into chaos. One figure after another walked out and stood in front of the Bone Palace. The leader was a dignified middle-aged man in a golden robe. His aura had already reached rank 7 Martial Emperor. He was the current ruler of the Bone Clan, Gu Yueshing. Behind him, there were a few other god emperors standing side by side. Gu Ao's figure was hiding behind the crowd in fear. His eyes were filled with a kind of complicated and doubtful panic. Young master, is that you? No. Young master is your father. What's going on? Is he him? Why is it that right after I helped you destroy the Golden Scaled Clan, you single-handedly infiltrated my Bone Race? No, come on if you want to show off. Why did you come alone? You were killed by my biological father 10,000 times over. My soul sea has a soul imprint that you planted. Will I die with you? Were you the one who split open my clan's sacred palace just now? The ruler of the Bone Race looked at Ling Xiao with a puzzled expression. When the unparalleled sword intent fell, he thought it was a human god emperor of the sword path. But why was it a young man? Gu Ao, were you the one who destroyed the Golden Scale Clan? Ling Xiao did not pay attention to Gu Yueshing. Instead, he coldly looked at Gu Ao behind him. Hearing this, the latter's face trembled slightly and coldly snorted. That's right. Since you admit it, then it's easy to talk. Ling Xiao nodded indifferently and glanced at the many experts of the bone race in front of the palace. Other than Gu Yueshing, there were 5 other god emperors in the Sea region royal clan. Their cultivations were mostly in the 3rd or 5th stage. Of course, there was also a 6th stage god emperor in the bone race, but he died at the Forgotten Islet. Destroyed the Golden Scale clan? Gu Yueshing looked at Gu Ao with a puzzled expression. You did it? Father, I was entrusted by someone. Gu Ao smiled embarrassedly. When I was traveling the Sea region, I met a good brother. He had some enmity with the Golden Scale clan and asked me to help him teach them a lesson. What? Hearing this, Shi-Er's eyes flashed with surprise and anger. It turned out that Gu Ao didn't hate her for destroying the Golden Scale clan. He was also instructed by someone. But how many people in the entire Sea region could order a noble young master of the royal clan to do that? Good brother? What good brother? Why haven't I heard you mention it before? Inexplicably, Gu Yueshing felt a little uneasy. Although the Golden Scale clan was a small clan, now that the Sea region was unified, the Ocean Emperor strictly prohibited the extermination of clans. As the loyal dogs of the Ocean Emperor, how could the Bone Race do such a thing against the Ocean Emperor? Did they still want this year's Most Loyal Dog award? Father, his name is Yijan. He said that he could bring me to the peak of the Sea region and make me stand out without any effort. He is now with the Flood Dragon clan. As soon as Gu Ao finished speaking, Gu Yueshing's face turned dull. Yijan? That's right. Father, do you know this good brother of mine? I know you, your ass. Slap. Gu Yueshing slapped Gu Ao to the ground. In the past few days, Zi Huang had personally ordered to investigate the whereabouts of a young man named Yijan. He said that this person pretended to be from the Heavenly Crocodile clan and joined forces with the great demons of the human clan to slaughter the common people. He had angered the Saint sect and was to be killed without mercy. Of course, not many people in the entire Sea region believed such word. Pretended to be from the Heavenly Crocodile clan? If he didn't have the bloodline of the Heavenly Crocodile, how could he do that? Using his mouth? However, Gu Yueshing did not even dream of it. The Heavenly Crocodile clan that he had been tracking for several days was actually right under his nose. Moreover, he had become good friends with the young master of the Bone Race? Son of AB*TCH, I think you want to kill everyone in the Bone Race. Wait, what did Aoer say just now? The Heavenly Crocodile clan was now a guest of the Flood Dragon clan? This is a great merit, a great merit. No, I have to calm down first. I must not let others know about this secret. As long as I can report this to the Ocean Emperor and kill the Heavenly Crocodile clan and the Flood Dragon clan, the Bone Race will be second only to one person in the Sea region in the future. Yijan? Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly. Is it the descendant of the Heavenly Crocodile clan who joined forces with the demon sect? Flood Dragon clan? Why is it related to the Flood Dragon clan again? Shi-Er's pretty face was pale and she was obviously nervous. Unlike the Bone Race, the royal clan was the real overlord of the Sea region. If not for the Ocean Emperor's tyrannical strength, the Flood Dragon clan would be the leader of the Sea region now. It doesn't matter. In the end, they will all die. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently. His eyes suddenly turned cold, and he suddenly turned his head to look at the depths of the Sea region. There was a slight fluctuation that suddenly disappeared without a trace. Chapter 725. Arrogant Brat. Do you really think you are the Sacred Sect's Divine Master? Destroy my Bone Clan? Do you think you are worthy? Gu Yueshing wanted to go to the Sea Emperor Palace immediately and report Yijan's whereabouts to the Sea Emperor. But before that, he needed to kill this outsider who also knew Yijan's whereabouts. In case this news related to the Bone Clan's meteoric rise was leaked. How did you see through my identity? Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly, took out the divine token from his cosmos bag, and raised it above his head. Why don't you kneel when you see me? Buzz. A wisp of immortal intent suddenly fell. The divine token suddenly bloomed with a golden brilliance. The terrifying momentum seemed to overturn heaven and earth, stirring up the sea within thousands of miles. Before the sarcasm on Gu Yueshing's face dissipated, he was completely stunned. What the f***ck? Is this the so-called prophecy coming true? Plop, plop. Among the Bone Clan, there was a sudden sound of kneeling. The people who were originally arrogant knelt on the ground, trembling. Only Gu Yueshing's eyes were filled with doubt. It shouldn't be. The divine power in this golden token was indeed extremely terrifying, but looking at this young man's appearance, was he in his early 20s? Could he be the legendary Holy Son of the Sacred Sect? Are you the Holy Son of the Sacred Sect? Holy Son, is there any misunderstanding between us? Even if it was the Holy Son of the Sacred Sect, Gu Yueshing couldn't provoke him. At this time, there seemed to be a flash of determination in his eyes. Then, he grabbed Gu Ao's head and brought him in front of Ling Xiao. Holy Son, if my son provoked you, I am willing to hand him over to you for punishment. Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly, but the corner of his mouth raised into a playful smile. This is an important actor that I specially invited. So, the Bone Clan must be destroyed today, but he can't die. Otherwise, who will go to the Flood Dragon Clan to testify against Izhan? As for why did he expose his identity as the Holy Son? Haha, sometimes it's not a bad thing to reveal some flaws appropriately. After all, he is now the Holy Son of the Sacred Sect, so there's no flaw. Everything to the extreme will make people suspicious. Sheer, am I right? I'm the Holy Son of the Sacred Sect. What bad intentions can I have? Mysterious things were indeed frightening, but it was hard to trust them completely. Moreover, Ziyan would definitely come to the Bone Race to investigate this matter. Ling Xiao needed an identity to explain why he had slaughtered this race. Otherwise, with that woman's scheming mind, she might not really give him a chance to make a deal. Bone Clan Patriarch, I'm afraid you don't understand what I mean. When I said that the Bone Clan would be slaughtered today, I meant it. Ling Xiao shook his head. Gu Yueshing's face finally darkened. Holy Son, aren't you being too overbearing? I'm afraid it's impossible for you to destroy my bone race. Everyone, stand up. Boom! Demonic chi rippled from Gu Yueshing's body like a sea, instantly blocking the power of the divine token. Behind him, the 4 emperor gods from the Bone Clan stepped forward slowly and their eyes were filled with fighting spirit. What a joke! A mere saint of the sacred sect came to my deep sea alone and threatened to exterminate my entire clan? What was he going to use to destroy it? With his mouth? F***ck. I can't do it alone, but what if I add them? Ling Zhao's eyes were cold, and the corners of his mouth rose into a sinister smile. Immediately after, everyone was dumbstruck when they saw figures with terrifying auras appear one after another behind the youth. Behind them was a sea of blood. Gulp. Even with Gu Yueshing's temperament, his eyes flashed with shock when he saw Xiong Huan and the others standing beside Ling Xiao. Moreover, the 10,000 blood guards standing in a neat row inexplicably made people feel stifled. Holy Son, you see, why don't we kill? Ling Xiao ignored the panic on Gu Yueshing's face and waved his hand lightly. Xiong Huan, Xing Shen, Huaheng, and the others turned into afterimages and blocked the Bone Clan's emperors. Xiao Beifa led the 10,000 blood guards and charged toward the Bone Clan's emperors. Blood instantly dyed the sea red, and the terrifying spiritual power crushed the sea water into a whirlpool. However, facing Xiong Huan and the others, the Bone Clan's emperors could not resist at all. In a short period of time, 2 of them died, their bodies and souls destroyed. What a pity! Ling Xiao shook his head and sighed. Now that he was in front of Shi, he did not dare to easily devour their divine souls. Moreover, the Sea Emperor would come eventually. Judging from the way she trapped Eni, this woman's means were heaven-defying, and she was especially skilled in the Tao of arrays. If she found out something, it would definitely affect Ling Xiao's overall situation. Ling Xiao had already sensed the figure hiding in the distance. This person had been following him all the way from the Forgotten Islet. However, he did not show himself, nor did he have any killing intent. His demonic aura was extremely evil, and he had comprehended the Ice Tao law. This kind of Tao law was rare, and Ling Xiao knew this person's identity after a little investigation. He was the Sea Emperor's personal servant, Commander Shi Si. Just now, Ling Xiao deliberately intimidated him so that he could send a message to the Sea Emperor. The news of Yixian's appearance was enough to lure the new Sea Emperor into the game. Otherwise, why did you think he could leave alive? Young master, who are they? Shi looked at the Bone Clan's people who were slaughtered in surprise. Although this kind of slaughter did make her feel good, it was still not enough. However, the sea that was dyed red was a little shocking. They are all my servants. Ling Xiao raised his head, looked at Gu Ao who was curled up at the side of the hall, and waved his hand gently. Young master. Gu Ao rolled and crawled to kneel in front of Ling Xiao. At this moment, he was already terrified of this demon-like young man. He was the one who ordered the destruction of the Golden Scale Clan, but now, he was using this as an excuse to destroy the Bone Clan. Moreover, from what he said just now, it was obvious that he had thoughts about the Flood Dragon human clan. Could it be that he planned to destroy the Flood Dragon human clan as well? You said that Yixian was hiding in the Flood Dragon human clan? He ordered you to destroy the Golden Scale Clan? Ling Xiao's expression was calm, and he didn't care about the chaotic battlefield in the distance. Yes, it was Yixian. He asked me to do it. Gu Ao's entire body was trembling. What can I do? I was planted with a seal, and I said whatever you wanted me to say. Oh, then follow me to the Flood Dragon human clan later. Let's meet your good brother. Ling Xiao snorted coldly, but Gu Ao was a little confused. He had heard of Yixian's name before. However, I don't know whether he is in the Flood Dragon human clan or not. Could it be that Master Ling Xiao intends to forcefully push the blame onto the Flood Dragon humanoid race? However, Gu Ao looked back at the Bone Clan's experts, who were almost completely slaughtered, and he swallowed his saliva. Master, although your subordinates are brave, I'm afraid it's a little impossible to destroy the Flood Dragon human clan. After all, that clan was the real overlord of the sea. Before the Purple Emperor, they had dominated the endless sea for thousands of years. Any one of the Bone Race's masters could easily crush the Bone Race. The reason why the Bone Clan is ranked as one of the top 10 royal clans is because our clan looks tough, but it's actually very soft. Do you think we are called the most loyal clan of the Ocean Emperor for nothing? F***CK. Should I remind Master not to mix our race with the Flood Dragon humanoid race? Saint of the Saint sect. You've gone too far. A furious roar suddenly came from the hall in the distance. Gu Yueshing was hit by Xiong Huan's palm, and his chest instantly collapsed, revealing his white bones. However, he took this opportunity to rush toward Ling Xiao. Shi and Gu Ao's expressions changed at the same time. However, with their cultivation, they couldn't react in time. They could only watch as Gu Yueshing's palm print pierced through the sea and appeared a few feet above Ling Xiao's head. Young master, be careful. Moss cough, father, don't be rash. Buzz. But. Just as Gu Yueshing's eyes were ferocious and he was laughing eerily, Ling Xiao's eyes suddenly flashed with a touch of playfulness. Chapter 726. Boom! Gu Yueshing's expression was ferocious. He struck out with his palm, which instantly grew to a size of 1,000 feet. The runes on it flickered and the laws of Tao flowed. Like a falling star, it enveloped Ling Xiao in the blink of an eye. So what if you're the holy son of the saint? In the end, none of us will be able to survive today. You will be buried here with my bone race. However, before the coldness on the Bone Clan Lord's face dissipated, a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. At this moment, he seemed to feel that the entire sea region seemed to have suddenly paused for a moment. It was the feeling that time had stopped, and his palm print did not seem to be able to imprint on Ling Xiao's body? It seemed to be entangled by something? What the f***ck? A 17 or 18-year-old boy could actually block his furious palm strike. Impossible. I don't believe it. Gu Yueshing stopped his attack, and the spiritual light in front of him dissipated. Then, he saw in disbelief that 4 figures had suddenly appeared in front of Ling Xiao. 3 of them were dressed in black robes, and their faces were covered by ghost masks. However, the aura on their bodies was mixed with a wisp of demonic aura. Especially the leader, who was at the same level as him, had reached the level of a 7th-grade divine emperor. The last person was a fat young man. He looked wretched, and his emperor's aura was somewhat mystical. How can this be? To be honest, although Gu Yueshing knew that the holy son of the saint would have terrifying means and demonic talents, he did not expect him to have so many servants by his side. How afraid of death are you? 7 divine emperors and 10,000 blood guards. This lineup was as terrifying as the royal clan of the sea region. No wonder he dared to fight the Bone Clan alone. It turned out that he was confident. Holy son, do you think I'll be lucky enough to become one of them? Pfft. Just as Gu Yueshing looked at Ling Xiao expectantly, a blood-stained palm suddenly reached out from his chest. Behind him, Xiong Huan's figure stood tall, his eyes filled with an extremely cold glint. You're not worthy. Ling Xiao shook his head and a demonic blade appeared in his hand. With a slash, he devoured Gu Yueshing's essence, blood, and divine soul. Gu Ao, bring them to collect your clan's resources. Yes, young master. Gu Ao nodded indifferently before turning around and walking towards the Bone Race's main hall. Young master, at this moment, Shi-Er's face was still filled with shock. So simple? The royal clan of the sea region, the royal clan that could intimidate thousands of miles of sea region, was exterminated just like that? The holy son of the saint? No wonder he was so calm and collected. It turned out that he was the most powerful 2nd generation in this world. Let's go. Let's meet young Master Izhan and ask him why he wants to destroy your Golden Scale clan. Ling Xiao stepped forward, heading towards the depths of the sea. However, Shi-Er's beautiful face flickered with a trace of hesitation. Sir, What's wrong, Shi-Er? Young master, why don't we forget it? You don't want to avenge the Golden Scaled clan anymore? Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly, but sneered in his heart. Forget it? I've just placed my first chess piece and you're already saying forget it? Yes. But young master, the Bone Race simply cannot be compared to the Flood Dragon human clan. This clan has many experts and was the true overlord of the sea region before master. Shi-Er sighed softly. Although the extermination of the Golden Scale clan made her feel so much pain that she wished she was dead. However, after interacting with Ling Xiao for the past few days, a trace of hope reappeared in her heart. She was unwilling to watch him throw away his life. Even if Ling Xiao's identity was noble enough, his talent was monstrous enough, and he had experts following him, he was still too insignificant compared to the Flood Dragon human clan. This was the sea region, and it had never been restricted by the Saint sect. Even Zi Yen might not know how many experts there were in an ancient clan that had existed for thousands of years. Back then, when the sea region was unified, it was the general trend. Zi Yen descended with thousands of demons, and the Flood Dragon human clan had no choice but to bow their heads and submit. However, the entire sea region knew that the Flood Dragon human clan did not acknowledge the Sea Emperor from the bottom of their hearts. Nothing can stop me from doing what I promised. Ling Zhao's expression was calm as he looked at the sea region in the distance. The depths of the sea region were pitch black, without a trace of light. It was extremely frightening. However, the darker the place, the better the stage for demons. Young master, Shi Er's pretty face froze, and a complicated expression appeared in her beautiful eyes. What is taking responsibility? Not retreating when facing the strong or the weak. Not feeling sad when facing the weak. Once you say it, even if you die, you will not regret it. Lord Lingxiao, it is Shi Er's honor to meet you. However, am I worthy? Am I worthy to ask you to risk your life? Alright, let's go. No matter how strong the Flood Dragon human clan is, I don't believe that they will dare to become enemies with the Saint sect. Ling Xiao snorted coldly. Until now, he had not contacted the first divine envoy. Surprisingly, the first divine envoy did not take the initiative to look for him either. Ling Xiao had made many arrangements to disrupt the situation in the southern border. However, there was a faint sense of uneasiness. Could it be that the first divine envoy noticed something? Or could it be that the first divine envoy noticed that there was something wrong with the Saint of the Saint? Of course, no matter which possibility it was, it did not affect Ling Xiao much. The Divine Master token was in his hands, and Dugu Yunjin could not contact the Divine Master at all. Ling Xiao only needed to delay him in the southern border, and the first divine envoy could only be a turtle in a jar. If the true demon was not enough to attract the first divine envoy's attention, would an expert who could perform the extreme ice Dao Law be enough? No matter what the relationship between Dugu Yunjin and the Divine Master was, and whether he knew the real reason for Yi Qingchan's death, once news about her appeared, it would be enough to make him panic. The Divine Master's loyal servant traveling the four borders? Are you secretly helping the Divine Master to find the demon with the Dao Law? Haha, Sea Emperor. How about we make a deal? You can ask your commander Sheiji to help me kill a few people? The Blood Shark Royal Palace was located in the southwest of the Endless Sea region. Compared to the Bone Clam, Demon Crow, and other clans, the Blood Shark clan had a stronger foundation. After all, the Blood Shark clan was known to be ruthless. However, the entire Blood Shark Royal Palace was eerily quiet today. The Blood Shark clan's clan lord, Sha Bai, was kneeling in the main hall with a panicked expression. His entire body was trembling as if he had seen something extremely terrifying. In front of him, the corpse of an elder of the Blood Shark clan was laid out in front of the hall. However, there was not a single wound on his body. It was as if his divine soul had been shattered by someone. You really don't know the whereabouts of the Heavenly Alligator clan? A cold laugh suddenly came from above the main hall. A purple-robed figure stood with his hands behind his back. He seemed to be admiring the blood shark totem in the hall. Purple Emperor, I really don't know. Sha Bai's voice was filled with fear. Even though he was a 7th stage Great Emperor, he was still as weak as an ant in front of this person. In fact, just a wisp of her aura was enough to make the Blood Shark clan's clan lord despair. He did not dare to disobey her. Chapter 727. Oh? But why did I hear that the elders your Blood Shark clan sent to the Immortal Mystic sect all joined the Heavenly Alligator clan and joined forces with the Southern Border Demon sect to slaughter the Immortal Mystic sect? The purple-robed woman slowly turned around, revealing a charming and enchanting face. Although she had a smile on her face and her tone was gentle, when the clan master of the Blood Shark clan saw this scene, he was so frightened that he almost lost his mind and died on the spot. Zi Huang. The loyalty of my Blood Shark clan can be seen by the sun and moon. Slander, this is pure slander. A few days ago, an elder escaped from the Immortal Mystic sect and told me personally about what happened to the Immortal Mystic sect. It was this human force that broke the agreement and attacked my sea clan. They even protected a heavenly poison evil body. Is that so? Zi Huang nodded indifferently. Her golden eyes were filled with a hint of seriousness. She went to the immortal mystic sect, and Eni escaped. Just now, she also saw the tragic death of the Sea clan's divine emperor sent by Ling Xiao in the memory of the Blood Shark clan's elder, who died in front of the palace. It was indeed the heavenly poison. But who was the one lying? When she was fighting with the first divine envoy, she heard the immortal mystic sect lord calling for help. He said that the heavenly alligator clan led Sha Yun and others to join forces with the southern border demon sect to slaughter this human force. But now, the Blood Shark clan's clan lord said that the immortal mystic sect killed 10 of his elders. Now the immortal mystic sect was destroyed, and the Sea clan's 10 emperors had disappeared without a trace. What the hell is going on? Faintly, Ziyen felt that a big net fell from the sky and enveloped the entire southern border. Could it be Ijan? Emperor, my Blood Shark clan has never been disloyal to the immortal mystic sect. This time, even my son Wuxia died. If you still don't believe me, take my life today. The Blood Shark clan's clan lord slowly closed his eyes, as if he was willing to die. However, the Purple Emperor's expression was cold. She waved her hand, and a wisp of spirit light turned into a gust of wind that helped the Blood Shark clan patriarch up from the ground. Shark clan master, what are you talking about? How can I not know about your loyalty? It's just that Ijan impersonated the heavenly crocodile clan and caused chaos to the people of my sea region. It's really abominable. Now, he has joined forces with the demon sect to destroy the immortal mystic sect. I don't think the saint sect will let him go. Ziyen smiled faintly. However, the meaning behind her smile was extremely obvious. Ijan had already incurred the wrath of both humans and demons. Whoever dared to shield him would suffer the joint punishment of the Sea Emperor Palace and the saint sect. Don't worry, Purple Emperor. I will order all the clansmen to search for traces of that Ijan. Once found, they will kill without mercy. Buzz. As soon as the patriarch of the Blood Shark clan spoke, the space above the hall rippled for an instant. Immediately after, a middle-aged man in a black robe descended from the sky and landed beside the clan leader of the Blood Shark clan. Your Majesty. The person who came was in a black robe. He had a long face and an aquiline nose. His eyes were long and sinister. They were a strange brown color that made people feel sinister at first glance. His name was Shi, a personal guard of the Purple Emperor. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the 6th stage Divine Emperor. He was highly regarded by the Sea Emperor. You can speak freely. Seeing the vigilance in Shi's eyes, Ziyen shook her head and smiled. Princess Shi-Er's whereabouts have been found. The Golden Scale clan has been destroyed. Now, she is questioning the Bone Clam clan with a young human. According to the young master of the Bone clan, he was ordered by Ijan. Now, that person is hiding in the Flood Dragon clan. What? Ziyan's beautiful eyes narrowed. A great force suppressed the world around her. Instantly, all the experts of the Sea clan present prostrated themselves on the ground and shivered uneasily. Flood Dragon clan? Among the 10,000 clans in the Sea region, the Flood Dragon clan was undoubtedly the strongest. They had a long history and countless experts in their clan. It was also because of this that this clan had always looked down on Ziyen. They had even secretly plotted against her. Could it be that they know Shi-Er's identity and are deliberately making things difficult for me? Ziyen frowned slightly. Thousands of rays of light shot out from her golden eyes, forming countless avatars. Your Majesty, should we? A glint of coldness flashed across Shi's brown eyes. Meanwhile, boundless demonic aura surged around Zi Huang. Is this true? This subordinate dares not confirm. At that time, I felt that the human who was traveling with Princess had sensed my aura. Flood Dragon Clan, you are really bold. Ziyen took a step forward. Her body turned into a graceful swan and instantly disappeared. As for the Blood Shark Clan master and the others, they looked at each other with a complicated look in the depths of their eyes. The sea region was probably going to become chaotic. At this moment, in the depths of the sea region, Ling Xiao and Shi were walking side by side. They were heading towards the Dragon Transformation Sea where the Flood Dragon Clan was located. The Flood Dragon Clan was originally a slave clan of the Heavenly Alligator Clan. They had 1,000 years of inheritance and had a deep foundation. 300 years ago, Ziyen had dug out Yizhan's beast core and seized his immortal origin. He had most likely recovered by now. As for Ling Xiao, he only needed to slightly help him expose his identity. Most likely, this ancient overlord would rise up and rebel. Shi had already left for a long time. At this moment, the Sea Emperor should also be rushing towards the Flood Dragon Clan. At that time, he only needed to put on a show to make the Sea Emperor fall into his trap. He would be able to complete 3 kills in one go. The first divine envoy, Yizhan, and the Sea Emperor. The 3 of them were chess pieces. The overall situation of the sea region was in his hands. Young Master ahead is the Dragon Transformation Sea where the Flood Dragon Clan is located. Normally, outsiders are not allowed to set foot in this sea region. Shi-Er's voice was still somewhat nervous. After all, even her master was extremely wary of the Flood Dragon Clan. With young Master's strength, if he angered this clan, he would most likely be in danger. Outsiders are not allowed to set foot in this sea region? This Flood Dragon Clan is really overbearing. However, Shi-Er, don't expose my identity for now. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He held Shi-Er's jade-like hand and flew towards the sea region that was glowing with spiritual light. Okay. It was only when a divine pillar suddenly appeared in front of them that the 2 of them landed at the bottom of the sea. How dare you trespass into my Flood Dragon Clan's territory? In the depths of the sea, a crystal palace emitted a treasure aura. Looking from afar, one could see layers of floating immortal aura. A ray Dao intent flowed and transformed into thousands of divine images. It was quite an immortal scene. Previously, Ling Xiao had learned from Yi that Yizhan had tried to communicate with him using the clan order 10 years ago. However, Yi was already trapped in the array at that time and could not respond at all. With the caution of a person of destiny, Ling Xiao guessed that Yizhan had most likely guessed something. You were killed 300 years ago and only appeared for the first time 10 years ago. Should I say that you are steady or cowardly? However, since Yizhan had appeared in the Flood Dragon Clan, Ling Xiao guessed that he most likely had some ulterior motive. To be honest, it was too difficult to use the Flood Dragon Clan to kill Ziyen. There was also the risk of being exposed. However, using the power of the Flood Dragon Clan to find Yi and enter the Heavenly Crocodile Clan's ancestral land could be a plot. Interesting. I just don't know what realm this Yizhan's cultivation is at now. Ling Xiao stretched out his finger and slashed down. A wisp of clear light tore through the sea curtain and directly cut the 2 Flood Dragon Clan guards outside the palace in half. Chapter 728. Lord of the Flood Dragon Clan, come out and answer me. Ling Xiao kicked the crystal palace door and smashed it. Holding Shi-Er's hand, he strode into the palace. At this moment, there was a trace of fear on Shi-Er's pretty face. She felt like a lamb entering a tiger's mouth and seeking her own death. How dare you? Where did you come from? Suddenly, a terrifying aura rushed out of the crystal palace. As the name suggested, the Flood Dragon Clan was a demon clan born from the union of sea flood dragons and other clans. This clan had mixed talents, and the blood of thousands of clans flowed in their bodies. It was amazing. Of course, dragons were lustful by nature, and so were flood dragons. Therefore, this clan quickly became the most numerous clan in the sea. Moreover, The Flood Dragon clan contained a trace of dragon blood. Although they were thousands of miles away from the true dragon, they were still intimidating to ordinary sea clans and demons. The demon clan's reproduction was not as good as the human clans. At the beginning, the Flood Dragon clan relied on their numbers to gain a foothold in the sea and gradually became a powerful clan in the sea. Who are you? A sea of demonic aura rose and fell in the Crystal Palace. Countless experts of the Flood Dragon clan surrounded Ling Xiao and Shi from all directions, trapping them in the palace. Young man, who are you? Compared to Gu Yuejian, the Flood Dragon clan lord was much calmer and more cautious. In particular, the immortal aura flowing around Ling Xiao's body made him feel inexplicably fearful. A human young man came to the Flood Dragon clan to kill people casually. If this person was not a fool, he must have something to rely on. Looking at this young man's appearance, he should not be a fool. Then he should have a great background. You are the Flood Dragon clan lord? Ling Xiao looked coldly at the golden-robed middle-aged man who was the leader. 8th grade Divine Emperor Water Dao Law. He had the might of a dragon and was full of vigor. I am Aoe. Young man, who are you? Why did you come to the Flood Dragon clan to kill people? If you don't give me an explanation today, stay here. Aoe frowned and glanced at Shi casually. His eyes narrowed. At this moment, he seemed to feel a suppression from this girl's bloodline. How is that possible? In the entire Endless Sea, no, in the entire Xingzhou continent, the only person who could suppress him in terms of bloodline was the demon emperor of the demon race. But even he might not be able to give him such terrifying pressure. This was because there was also a strand of dragon blood flowing in his body. Today, if you don't give me an explanation, the name of the Flood Dragon humanoid race will be removed from the sea region. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently, but the moment his voice fell, he clearly felt Shi-Er's jade hand grip on his hand a little tighter. Don't be afraid. With me here, no one in the sea can harm you. Ling Xiao turned his head and looked at the girl beside him. The gentleness on his face instantly dispelled the fear in Shi-Er's heart. She didn't know why, but every time she saw his handsome and cold face, Shi-Er always felt that he would definitely be able to do what he said. How dare you? Human youth, you're courting death. One of the sea race god emperors had a ferocious look on his face. He took a step forward and was about to rush towards Ling Xiao. However, right at that moment, the Flood Dragon humanoid race's clan chief extended his hand and stopped him. Young man, tell me why you're here. Someone in your Flood Dragon humanoid race instigated the Bone race to exterminate the Golden Scale race. Don't tell me you don't know about this? Ling Xiao's lips curled into a cold smile, but the expressions of Aoe and the other experts of the Flood Dragon humanoid race suddenly darkened. You're slandering us. My Flood Dragon humanoid race has no enmity with the Golden Scale race at all. Furthermore, the entire sea region knows about the relationship between my race and the Bone race. Aoe snorted coldly. There seemed to be a blood shadow floating around him, and a thick bloody aura quietly spread out. The Bone Clam race was Ziyan's loyal servant and had always been looked down upon by the Flood Dragon humanoid race. This matter wasn't really a secret. Although the Flood Dragon humanoid race had submitted to Ziyan on the surface, no one had ever walked out of the Dragon Transformation Sea in the past 100 years. In other words, they only moved around in their own territory and did not allow anyone to step into this place. It could be said that they had drawn a clear line with the entire sea race. Slandering us? Ling Xiao shook his head and casually released the Bone Pride from the Glaze Ancient Pagoda. I believe everyone knows this person. From the beginning to the end, Ling Xiao had never thought that he would be able to uproot the Flood Dragon humanoid race today. Shi-Er was right. This royal race was different from the other royal races. They had a deep foundation. He still needed to use this race's foundation as a bargaining chip to restrain Ziyan. Otherwise, why would the Ocean Emperor obediently become a butcher knife in his hands? Bone pride? Aoyi's eyes flashed with surprise. He instinctively felt a trace of uneasiness in his heart. Looking at the expression of the Bone Clan's young master, he seemed to be extremely dejected. You say it. Ling Xiao patted Bone Pride's shoulder. The latter immediately roared at the experts of the Flood Dragon humanoid race with a resentful expression. It's all your Flood Dragon humanoid race's fault. If not for him, why would I have to slaughter the Golden Scale race and cause such a disaster for my Bone Clan? Yi-Zhan? Ha 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 ha, Bone Pride, shouldn't you be more serious when you're slandering my race? When did my Flood Dragon humanoid race have a surname? Hiss, hiss, hiss. The elder of the Flood Dragon humanoid race who spoke seemed to have suddenly thought of something, and the expression on his face instantly froze. Hearing Bone Pride's words, Aoyi's face was also extremely gloomy. This person did not come with good intentions. However, no one in the entire sea region knew that Yi-Zhan was in his Flood Dragon humanoid race. Even in the Flood Dragon humanoid race, only a few elders knew about Yi-Zhan's identity. Ordinary clansmen did not notice the young man who suddenly appeared in the race. For the Demon Clan, especially those with ancient bloodlines, 100 years was a blink of an eye. Could it be that this was really done by young Master Yi-Zhan? Otherwise, with just Bone Pride, how could he be so sure that Yi-Zhan was in his Flood Dragon humanoid race? Ha ha, young Master Bone Pride, you can eat people indiscriminately, but you can't speak carelessly. Since when was there a person called Yi-Zhan in our race? Aoi looked at Ling Xiao coldly. With Bone Pride's temperament, even if he really knew about Yi-Zhan's existence, he would not dare to provoke him so blatantly. However, this young man in white did not look like a person with no status. However, why would a human like him want to get involved in the Sea Clan's affairs? He told me that if I did this well, he would take me with him. He said that he is now in the Flood Dragon humanoid race, and that I can come here to find him if I need anything. I can't be wrong. Young master, you must believe me. Everything I said is true. Bone Pride looked agitated as he vividly described the scene of his encounter with Yi-Zhan. Clan leader Ao, I am not here today to target the Flood Dragon humanoid race. I promised my sister that I would help her kill her enemy. Ling Xiao looked up at the gloomy clan leader of the Flood Dragon humanoid race and said calmly, I said that there is no one called Yi-Zhan in my race. If you continue to pester endlessly, don't blame me for being rude. Aoi waved his hand, and immediately, 2 Flood Dragon humanoid god emperors stepped forward and walked towards Ling Xiao. It seems that there is indeed no one called Yi-Zhan in the Flood Dragon humanoid race. Ling Xiao nodded and smiled. Suddenly, Folded Shadow's message came from his soul sea. My lord, an expert is coming from the east. Is he finally here? Hearing the voice, Ling Xiao's eyes suddenly flashed with coldness. Bone Pride, how dare you lie to me? Chapter 729. I didn't. Gu Ao was stunned. Especially when he saw the coldness in Ling Xiao's eyes, he felt a chill rising from the bottom of his feet. I've helped you exterminate your clan. I've also let you exterminate my clan. I've also spread the blame to the Flood Dragon clan. Why do I still feel like I'm going to be killed? Young master, I'm really not lying. You can search my soul. Quick, search me. I Gu Ao hate being framed the most. F***ck. I didn't want to say that. But what can I do? I've been imprinted by Ling Xiao. Oh? Since that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish. Ling Xiao snorted. The soul light in his eyes suddenly brightened. Everyone only saw Gu Ao's face stiffen. Then, it turned into a blank void. When did the Bone Clan's young master become so hot-blooded? To prove his innocence, he actually took the initiative to ask someone to search his soul? Humph. Clan Master Ao, What else do you have to say now? The dignified clan master of the Flood Dragon clan is actually so despicable and cowardly. What? You dare to do it but don't dare to admit it? Ling Xiao casually threw Gu Ao, who had turned into a fool, to the side. The main character was about to arrive. Of course, he wouldn't leave such a big loophole for others to see through. Since Gu Ao's light and heat had been completely exhausted, there was no need for him to live anymore. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill all of you. Gu Ao suddenly stood up and pounced towards one of the Flood Dragon clan's experts with a crazed expression. In his hands, the two bone spears emitted a biting cold radiance. They contained an unparalleled killing intent. You're courting death. However, in the face of the Bone Clan's young master's all-out attack, the Flood Dragon clan's expert immediately revealed a look of disdain. He casually sent out a seal and shattered the bone spear. Gu Ao fell to the ground together with it. Poochie! The latter opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes rolled and he actually died. F***CK? That Flood Dragon clan's expert looked at his palm in confusion. He then looked at Gu Ao's corpse in disbelief. When did I become so awesome? Humph. Does Clan Master Ao think that, by killing Gu Ao, there will be no evidence? Ling Xiao shook his head. Dazzling lightning suddenly blossomed around his body. Since clan leader Ao is unwilling to hand over Izhan, I will kill him until he comes out. How can a coward be worthy of your protection? Arrogant! Aoi frowned. Although the young man in front of him had immortal Dao runes, Izhan's matter was very important. If he was not careful, he might bring a calamity to the Flood Dragon humanoid race. Of course, as a slave, Aoi naturally hoped that Izhan could grow up as soon as possible and have the strength to contend with Ziyan. At that time, the Flood Dragon humanoid race would follow the Dragon humanoid race and would have the merit of protecting their master. Even if the Heavenly Crocodile clan had declined, as long as the Heavenly Crocodile ancestor was still alive, the clan would rise again. Moreover, according to Izhan, the Heavenly Alligator tribe had 9 Emperor gods and hundreds of clansmen on standby. All he had to do was return to the ancestral land and lead everyone out of the border. Ziyan could be destroyed with a wave of his hand. The most important thing now was to find the clan leader of the Heavenly Alligator tribe, even if it was just his corpse, because the key to open the ancestral land of the Heavenly Alligator was with him. Aoi was originally worried that with Ziyan's means, she might have already gotten the key. However, Izhan only shook his head and smiled, saying that it was impossible. Men, execute these two who barged into my dragon transformation on the spot. At this point, Aoi naturally would not let Ling Xiao and Izhan leave. Even if he was instinctively afraid of this young man, the matter of Izhan must not be leaked. Yes! Several Emperor gods of the Flood Dragon humanoid race stepped forward and pressed their hands together. Seals appeared out of thin air, forming a screen, condensing and suppressing Ling Xiao. The sea region within thousands of miles was bright and resplendent. Divine radiance bloomed like a sea of stars falling into the human world. The attacks in the sky were all performed by the Emperor gods with all their strength. One could imagine how powerful they were. Although the few people who attacked were only at the 2nd or 3rd stage realm, they were still very powerful. Even so, the entire sea region was still surging with waves that were tens of thousands of feet high. Young master, I've implicated you. Shi'er's jade-like hand held Ling Xiao's palm tightly. The corners of her mouth curled up in a bitter smile. However, at this moment, there was no trace of panic in her eyes. It was as if she did not care about this destructive attack. It was also as if it was her last bit of gentleness. Shi'er's talent had already begun to show when she merged with the Black Heaven Water essence. Ling Xiao did not know if she knew about her own talent, but looking at her current appearance, it seemed like she had a trump card that could reverse the situation. What nonsense are you talking about? Ling Xiao smiled gently, but Shi Er's eyes flickered with a faint blue light. In between her eyebrows, a vast and unparalleled divine sun bloomed with a mysterious light. Suddenly, a demonic figure that was hundreds of feet tall tore through the sky. At this moment, although this demonic figure was blurry, the demonic power that it emitted had a kind of intimidating and destructive intent. However, before the demonic figure completely appeared, Ling Zhao's lips curled up into a smile. Then, he pulled Shi Er behind him. You don't believe me? What? Shi Er's expression froze. Even the blue light in between her eyebrows quietly dimmed for a moment. Young Master Yu, I've said it before. With me here, no one in this sea region can hurt you. Ling Xiao did not turn around. However, the determination in his voice made Shi Er's heart tremble. She almost cried on the spot. The Golden Scale clan had been destroyed. Now, she had no one to rely on. Although her master was very good to her, Shi Er knew from the beginning that her master's feelings were built on the premise of benefits. Only Lord Ling Xiao did not have any ulterior motives. He even saved her life time and time again, risking his life for her. If the destruction of the Bone Clan had already touched Shi Er's heart, then looking at the determined figure in front of her, who faced the 5 emperors directly, Shi Er finally had extravagant hopes. If the 2 of them did not die today, would it be considered as experiencing life and death in the future? The destined girl submit. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 1,000 luck points and 10,000 villain points. Buzz. Ling Xiao looked ahead and saw the demon seal spiritual treasure falling from the sky. Then, he suddenly clenched his fist. A ray of black light bloomed from his hand. Then, under the dumbfounded gaze of countless experts from the Flood Dragon human clan, he gently slashed the void. The terrifying saber essence seemed to have pierced through the sky. It swept across the heavens and killed all living things. It seemed to contain 3,000 Tao essences that could slash through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. At this moment, the sea region within a radius of 10,000 miles shattered neatly. Ripples spread out. Nothing in the world could stop it. In just an instant, the attack of the 5 emperors dissipated into nothingness. The leading second-grade Divine Emperor did not even have time to react. Or rather, everyone did not have time to react. They saw his body split open from the middle. His body and soul were destroyed. The whole world suddenly fell into dead silence. Everyone's faces were filled with shock and fear. How could it be possible? An 18-year-old young man broke the attack of 5 emperors with one slash and killed 1 emperor. Chapter 730. Ao Yi's expression froze, and he instinctively felt a trace of fear. Slaying the arch with his saber. Where did this young man come from? Why'd have I never heard of him before? With Ao Yi's status, it was impossible for him not to know if a demon appeared in the southern border. However, the sudden appearance of this young man and woman shocked him inexplicably. It was better not to provoke such a demon. Once provoked, one must eliminate him completely. Buzz. Aoi took a step forward and did not give Ling Xiao any time to react. Blood light suddenly surged on his palm and turned into a ferocious blood dragon, instantly tearing apart the sea. The surging demonic power was vast and shocking. The attack of an 8th-grade Divine Emperor was not something that an ordinary person could resist. At that moment, he intended to kill Ling Xiao and Shi Er. Hence, the blood dragon's phantom was 1,000 feet long and directly enveloped the entire space. The world suddenly turned blood-red, and a strong bloody aura quietly spread. The blood dragon fell from the sky ferociously. In just a breath's time, it turned into a 1,000-foot blood seal. The Tao patterns on it flowed, and divine light flickered. It was majestic and heavy, and it wanted to suppress the world. Ling Zhao's eyes narrowed, but his lips curled into a cold smile. However, at that moment, he did not have any intention of retreating. He held his saber in one hand and blocked in front of Shi Er. Young master! Shi Er's eyes were red, and she clenched her fists tightly. Strangely, she did not have a trace of fear in her heart at that moment. To be able to die with young master, wasn't it an honor for Shi Er? Flood Dragon Clan leader, you are too much. Even if I die today, you will receive retribution sooner or later. Ling Xiao shouted angrily. He slashed out with the ancient saber in his hand, and the great Tao Law appeared on the blade. 1,000-foot saber intent bloomed in the air and shone brightly. However, with Ling Xiao's current strength, he could not fight against an 8th-grade divine emperor. Moreover, he had already sensed the aura hiding in the void. It was obvious that the Sea Emperor Ziyan had arrived. Apart from the Purple Emperor, there was probably no one else in the entire sea region who could avoid Ao Yi's divine senses so easily. If not for Ling Xiao's terrifying spirit and the ancestral symbol, it would have been very difficult for him to detect her presence. However, since everyone was here, it was time for the show to begin. Puchi. The saber intent split open the sky like a Milky Way and collided with the blood seal. Right at this moment, a strand of blood suddenly sprayed out from Ling Xiao's mouth, and his entire body seemed as if he'd suffered a heavy injury and was blasted flying for over 10 m. But in this way, Shi Er's figure was completely exposed under the blood seal. Sir! Shi Er, cough, be careful. Ling Xiao fiercely clenched his teeth. Blood dyed his white teeth red and dripped onto his star robe, appearing especially glaring. However, in front of Aoe, both Ling Xiao and Shi Er seemed insignificant. Thus, before the blood seal could descend, Shi Er's figure had already been crushed by the divine might, causing blood to seep out of her 7 apertures, and she was in an extremely sorry state. Yi Zhan! If you have the guts, come out and fight me. What's the point of hiding in the Flood Dragon Clan? Ling Xiao looked up at the sky and roared with a ferocious expression. Given Ziyan's character, she would most likely not be able to hold herself back when she heard Yi Zhan's name. Even if she had some concerns, she had to have a reason to deal with Yi Zhan. Therefore, she would definitely not let Ling Xiao and Shi Er die in Ao Yi's hands. Of course, even if Ziyan did not act according to common sense, if Ling Xiao wanted to leave, a Flood Dragon Clan leader would not be able to stop him. How dare you still be so arrogant? Ao Yi's eyes were sinister. In the end, his palm landed, completely suppressing Shi Er and Ling Xiao's figures. In an instant, waves surged, and spirit radiance shot into the sky, covering thousands of kilometers of sea. However, just as the Flood Dragon Clan members revealed looks of disdain, they saw Ao Yi's expression turn solemn. He suddenly stopped attacking, and a hint of resentment flickered in his eyes. Clan leader, beside him, a white-haired old man's expression froze. Ao Yi gave him a look and turned to walk towards the hall. Hee, Sea Emperor, why are you in the mood to come to my dragon transformation sea today? Then, under the horrified gazes of the Flood Dragon Clan members, Ao Yi suddenly took a step forward and bowed towards the surging waves. Sea Emperor? Everyone's expressions froze as they lowered their heads and bowed in panic. However, a cold and ethereal voice suddenly sounded from the front. Clan leader Ao, you're so impressive. You even dare to kill my disciple. What? Sea Emperor's disciple? Ao Yi's eyes narrowed, but he felt that everything that happened today was too strange and coincidental. Given Ziyan's thoughts, it was not surprising that she wanted to set up a trap to find Yi Zhan. However, Ao Yi really could not figure out how she was so sure that Yi Zhan was among the Flood Dragon Clan. He's here indeed. At the end of the waves, Ling Xiao's eyes were clear as he looked at the purple-robed figure standing in front of Shi Er. The corners of his mouth curled up into a playful smile. A 9th-grade divine emperor with a familiar aura. Immortal source? Indeed, the Ziyan that Yi and I mentioned was the current new Sea Emperor, who was also Shi Er's master, Zi Huang. However, what surprised Ling Xiao was that the Tao law that Zi Huang comprehended was not the water Tao, but the thunder Tao. No wonder Zi Huang could suppress and unify the chaotic endless sea domain in just 100 years. The thunder Tao was even more ferocious when encountering water. The sea creatures lived on water. Zi Huang's existence was more like their natural enemy. Master! Shi Er's pretty face froze for a moment before it turned into joy. The purple-robed figure finally turned her head. However, she did not look at Shi Er, but at Ling Xiao coldly. That pair of reddish-gold eyes were filled with a majesty that could not be provoked. When she opened and closed her eyes, it was as if the sun was pouring down, and huge stars were falling to the earth. It made one's heart tremble with fear. Her purple dress fluttered in the wind, and she looked otherworldly. She was enchanting and stood aloof from the world. Ling Xiao had seen many beauties, but Zi Huang was the only one who had perfectly integrated two completely different temperaments into her body. Of course, if an ordinary person saw her for the first time, he or she would have already fallen for her. However, at this moment, Ling Xiao's eyes were especially cold, and there was not a trace of emotion in them. A woman who could play with Yizhan and his son in the palm of her hand. Ling Xiao could not afford to be careless. It turned out to be a misunderstanding. Aoi smiled bitterly. Why didn't you tell us when Zi Huang accepted a disciple? It was a misunderstanding today. I did not prepare any congratulatory gift. This cold sky divine dagger is the most precious treasure of my flood dragon clan. Just treat it as Yizhan. Ziyen shook her head and looked at him calmly. In your clan? She had gone to the Bone clan first, but only saw a sea of blood. Although she also suspected Ling Xiao's identity and motive, the most important thing now was to take this opportunity to find Yizhan. Of course, Ling Xiao had already guessed what Ziyen was thinking. The reason why he had intimidated Snake House in advance was to ask Ziyen to come later so that he would have enough time to perfect the situation. Everything was under control and not luck. Ha ha ha, you don't trust me? Ever since you gave the order to find this young man who pretended to be from the Heavenly Alligator clan, my Flood Dragon clan has never been negligent. However, this sea is vast. It is easier said than done to find a person. Zi Huang, I guarantee with my life that Yizhan is in the Flood Dragon clan. Before Aoi could finish, Ling Xiao suddenly interrupted him. Who are you? Ziyen raised her eyebrows slightly, and there was a trace of doubt in her eyes. Why does this young man's voice sound so familiar? Oh, it doesn't matter. He will not live past tomorrow. Master, this is Lord Ling Xiao. If not for Lord Ling Xiao, I am afraid I would have died in the hands of the Bone clan. Shi Er's pretty face was pale. She reached out to wipe the blood from the corner of her mouth and nose. Oh, how do you know that Yizhan is in the Flood Dragon clan? Ziyan's face was expressionless. She had already guessed that if Yizhan did not die, he would definitely wreak havoc in the sea. She just did not expect to wait for 300 years. She did not care whether this young man named Ling Xiao appeared by coincidence or had ulterior motive. How could an ant kill a dragon? I searched the young master of the Bone clan's soul sea. In his memory, Yizhan is now in the Flood Dragon clan. Moreover, he seems to have helped Yizhan find the traces of another Heavenly Alligator clan elite. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently, but Ziyen and Aoyi's expressions froze at the same time. Another Heavenly Alligator clan elite? Could it be? Eni. Chapter 731. Another Heavenly Alligator clan elite? In Ziyan's eyes, golden light shone brightly, like a surging tide. In the entire endless sea domain, there were only two Heavenly Alligator clan members, Yizhan and Eni. Now that Yizhan was in the Flood Dragon clan, the other Heavenly Alligator clan member mentioned by the young man was Eni. No wonder she did not find any trace of Eni when she went to the Immortal Mystic sect. It turned out that he was found by the Bone Clam clan. Damn it! Lowly Sea clan, how dare you betray me? Of course, no matter whether Ling Xiao was telling the truth or not, there was no way to verify it. After all, the last survivor of the Bone Clam clan had died in the hands of the Flood Dragon clan. At this time, Ao Yi's eyes flashed with a hint of solemnity. Inexplicably, he seemed to believe that Gu Ao was really Yizhan's subordinate. He had heard Yizhan mention before that if he wanted to open the ancestral land of the Heavenly Alligator clan from the outside, he must find the clan token of the Heavenly Alligator clan. 10 years ago, Yizhan had taken the initiative to contact ENI with a secret method but did not get any response. However, he faintly sensed that the aura of the Heavenly Alligator clan master was not in the ancestral land but in the Endless Sea domain. According to Yizhan's guess, his father most likely left the ancestral land to look for him and then was trapped somewhere. And besides the Violet Emperor, there was probably no one else who could trap him. After listening to Ling Xiao's words, Ao Yi had some guesses in his heart. Maybe Gu Ao was secretly recruited by Yizhan to find out the whereabouts of the Heavenly Alligator clan master? There were many rumors in the Endless Sea domain that Yizhan was impersonating the Heavenly Alligator clan to deceive the world. Others might not know, but Ao Yi already knew the experience of this Heavenly Alligator descendant. The monster core was dug out and the immortal source was taken away. Even if he stood up and revealed his identity now, many people would not believe him. Therefore, finding the clan token and opening the ancestral land of the Heavenly Alligator clan was the only way for Yizhan to prove his identity. At the same time, it was also the fastest way for him to integrate the immortal source and become supreme. In 300 years, Yizhan spent more than 250 years to reconstruct the monster core and embark on the path of immortality. But without the immortal source, how could he catch up with Ziyan's footsteps? Yizhan was determined to get the immortal source. Of course, Ling Xiao didn't take the initiative to mention this matter because he had nothing better to do. He didn't know where the Heavenly Alligator's ancestral land was, but Yizhan knew. He was the perfect person to open the ancestral land and act as a treasure-seeking mouse. Young Lord Yizhan, I'm here to give you a pillow. Wasn't that the duty of a villain? Ao Yi, what else do you have to say? Ziyan turned her head and calmly looked at the group of serpent-men experts. There was a faint purple lightning flowing around his body, shocking the heavens and the earth. The Purple Emperor would rather believe a human than me? Ao Yi shook his head, looking a little lonely. Hearing this, Ling Xiao smiled nonchalantly. How about this, clan leader Ao? You swear on your Dao heart that if Yizhan is in the Flood Dragon clan, I will shatter your Dao heart, break your bloodline, and stop you from entering the reincarnation cycle. Then, I will believe you. How about that? A Dao heart oath was completely useless to Ling Xiao, but Ling Xiao didn't care about it at all. However, to ordinary living beings and cultivators, it was extremely solemn and dignified. As expected, Ao Yi's face instantly turned green when he heard Ling Xiao's words. Humph. If I say he's not here, then he's not here. How can my dignity be trampled by a human like you? What if I insist on barging in today? Ziyan took a step forward, and the purple lightning around her soared into the sky, almost turning the seawater black. It was extremely evil. A vast pressure descended from the sky. The terrifying aura of a 9th-grade divine emperor made everyone's scalp go numb, and fear instinctively rose in their hearts. Ziyan's name was synonymous with cruelty and tyranny in the entire Endless Sea domain. No one doubted whether she would dare to slaughter the Flood Dragon clan. Because in her eyes, there was no race in the Endless Sea domain that she couldn't slaughter. If the Purple Emperor doesn't believe me, then the Flood Dragon clan won't stay in the Sea Emperor Palace. Ao Yi gritted his teeth fiercely, and the phantom of a blood dragon gradually appeared behind him. It stood at the top of the sky and looked down at everyone. Obviously, this Flood Dragon clan leader was prepared to fight to the death against Ziyen. Ha ha, alright. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Ziyen covered her mouth and chuckled. In the next moment, she suddenly took a step forward and turned into the apocalyptic tribulation lightning, heading straight for AoE. Endless thunder rumbled, and when it landed in one's ears, it was like a yellow bell, shocking one's heart. The entire endless sea domain instantly turned dark. Only streaks of strange purple lightning swam like dragons, reaping lives. Ling Xiao and Shi stood side by side in the distance, looking at the beautiful and inexplicably ferocious figure. Their eyes were especially calm. From the beginning, he felt that Ziyen was definitely plotting something. Given her scheming, it was impossible for her to believe Ling Xiao's words so easily. However, she still attacked without hesitation. This proved that she valued the position of the overlord of the endless sea domain very much. She would not allow anyone to threaten her rule. Izhan was her concern. In this way, Ling Xiao had the means to control her. Boom! 3,000 purple lightning bolts descended from the sky, instantly turning several Flood Dragon humans into ashes. However, just as Ziyen leaped over Aoyi's head, a stern shout suddenly came from the Crystal Palace in the distance. Stop! Hearing the voice, Ling Xiao's lips curled up into a smile. It's here. The heavenly mandate was a person who was loyal, righteous, and brave to take responsibility. If he were to watch his loyal servant die for him without doing anything, he would definitely be scolded badly. Therefore, Ling Xiao had set up this trap to lure the Sea Monarch here to slaughter the Flood Dragon humans and finally lure out the Sea Domain's heavenly mandate. At this moment, his fate no longer belonged to him or the heavens. It belonged to me. Ziyen raised her eyebrows slightly and waved her jade-like hand. 1,000-foot-long lightning seal smashed the blood dragon behind Aoyi into pieces. Aoyi's figure landed and staggered. Blood immediately dripped from the corner of his mouth. At this moment, his eyes were filled with fear, helplessness, and a hint of bitterness. Young clan master, why did you come out? Aren't you courting death and implicating my Flood Dragon humans to be buried with you? However, when he saw the old figure standing beside Izhan, Aoyi's eyes suddenly bloomed with excitement. Patriarch, Patriarch, didn't you say that I can't disturb your cultivation unless it's the key to extermination? Why do you have time to come out today? Ziyen, you are still so cruel and domineering. In front of the main hall, a tall figure stood with his hands behind his back. His golden robe shone with a mysterious light, making him look otherworldly. Beside him, an old man with snow-white hair smiled faintly. On his aged face, there was a kind of tranquil indifference that seemed to have transcended the mortal world. 5,000 Providence points, 9th stage God King, primordial bloodline, and heavenly alligator battle body. It was a pretty good league. Ling Xiao narrowed his eyes and turned to look at the old man beside him. From Aoyi's reaction, Ling Xiao could sense that the cultivation of the Flood Dragon human's patriarch had definitely reached an extremely terrifying level. However, in terms of might, it was clearly Ziyen who was a bit stronger. Izhan, you actually dare to appear in front of me. The lightning around Ziyen dissipated. Her golden eyes flickered with indifference. Why wouldn't I dare? You are the one who betrayed me. It's not that I'm heartless. Izhan sighed softly. However, the grief in his tone made the faces of many Flood Dragon humans turn solemn. There are too many people who are infatuated and blindly love too deeply. For example, you and I used to be. But, *CK young clan master Izhan, we submitted to you because of the overlord bloodline in your body. Why are you licking my boots all of a sudden? Chapter 732. Izhan, you impersonated the heavenly alligator clan and deceived the world. If I don't kill you today, I won't be able to appease the hatred in my heart. Ziyen snorted coldly. She had no intention of catching up with him. Waves rose again in the vast sea region. A purple thunder seal appeared out of thin air and pressed down on Yijan without any explanation. The void trembled, and large pieces of the sea collapsed, emitting a ghost-like whimper. This woman is interesting. Ling Xiao had a playful look in his eyes. Usually, villains died because they talked too much. But this Ziyen was decisive and didn't say a single word of nonsense. Although, with her identity, attacking rashly was a loss of the demeanor of an emperor. But who cares? As long as she could kill the enemy, who cared how they died? Zi Huang, aren't you too overbearing? The white-haired old man beside Yijan smiled faintly. A layer of fine scales suddenly covered his aged palms. A wisp of demonic aura instantly spread out. Above the void, a formation seemed to appear and completely blocked the thunder seal. Boom! The thunder seal smashed down, setting off huge waves. However, the golden light above the formation suddenly shone brightly. Although there were some fluctuations, it didn't break in the end. The ancient race's foundation was fully revealed at this moment. Of course, the flood dragon person's cultivation was only at the 8th stage. Even with the help of the ancient formation, a wisp of scarlet appeared on his face. Even his figure trembled for a moment. Humph! Is your flood dragon person clan determined to be my enemy? Ziyan's expression was indifferent. She glanced at the ancient formation above her head, but she felt helpless in her heart. Although the Flood Dragon Person clan didn't have a 9th stage martial emperor, they had 2 8th stage experts. With Ziyan's attainments in formations, how could she not see how terrifying this protective formation was? Even she felt a little fearful of the power contained in it. After all, she had found Yijan's whereabouts today. Next, she just had to watch over the dragon transformation. See, what could a mere divine king do? The human race has a saying that those who walk different paths should not work together. Zi Huang's cultivation is extremely high, and your ambition is clear. However, my Flood Dragon Person clan has no great ambition. We only want to follow the ancient agreement and follow the heavenly alligator. The old ancestor of the Flood Dragon Person sighed softly, looking rather weathered. It was as if he had no other choice but to make such a decision. All right. Ziyen smiled warmly and didn't say anything else. She turned around and left. Shi'er, come with me. Yes, master. Shi'er grabbed Ling Zhao's hand, as if she was afraid he would cause trouble again. She chased after Ziyen. Young master, later on please don't say that you're from the Holy Church. My master hates the Holy Church to the core. Shi'er reminded via voice transmission, yet it caused a wisp of a smile to arise on the corners of Ling Zhao's mouth. Isn't this a coincidence? I also hate the saint sect to the core. Aoe and the others only relaxed slightly when the 3 of them disappeared completely. Young lord, why did you come out? Didn't I tell you to hide for now? Aoe bowed to the white-haired old man. Greetings, old ancestor Ao Sun. I understand her. If she doesn't see me today, she will definitely have thoughts of annihilating the Flood Dragon Person clan. As long as I leave the Dragon Transformation Sea, she won't attack the Flood Dragon Person clan because of this matter. At least, not now. Yijan's expression was gloomy. It had been 300 years. He thought he only had hatred left for this heartless woman. However, he didn't expect that at the moment when he really faced her, he would understand that hatred was because of disappointment, pain, and not being able to love her. Ziyen, if you want the sea region and the immortal origin, I'll give it to you. Why do you have to capture my heart and crush it ruthlessly? Young lord? You want to leave? Ao Sun's old face trembled, and he slowly shook his head. Young lord, you're overthinking. This ancient array of my Flood Dragon Person clan was left behind by our ancestors. Even a 9th-grade divine emperor can't break it easily. As long as you stay in the Crystal Palace, no one can hurt you. Old ancestor, by the way, young lord, that young man from the human clan said that he seems to know the whereabouts of the lord of the crocodile clan. Aoe seemed to have suddenly thought of something, and his tone was particularly low. What? Ijan was stunned, and it turned into a touch of excitement. Although he guessed that his father had most likely been killed by Ziyen. However, the immortal origin and the clan token on Ziyen were his only hope to return to the ancestral land. As long as he could integrate with the immortal origin in the ancestral land, coupled with the awakened primitive bloodline, Ijan was confident that he could catch up with Ziyan's footsteps. Young lord, do you want me to send someone to capture him? Aoye's eyes flashed coldly, but Ijan shook his head slightly. I want to meet him personally. He had already heard about the scene in front of the palace from others. He didn't know anything about the young lord of the Bone Clan, Gu Ao, or the extermination of the Golden Scale Clan. However, that young man from the human clan insisted that he was the one who did it. There must be a conspiracy. Ijan naturally wouldn't take an 18 or 19-year-old human seriously. Although he had wasted 300 years, his demon core had been reconstructed, his battle physique had been awakened, and his cultivation had stepped into the 9th-grade Divine King realm. Among the younger generation of the Sea region, who could be his opponent? However, why did this human try so hard to lure him out? Looking at Ziyan's reaction before leaving, it seemed that she didn't know him? But, don't worry, Clan Master. Even if I meet Ziyan, I am confident that I can escape from her. Ijan took a deep breath. Compared to living an ignoble life, he, the young master of the Heavenly Alligator Clan, had to fight with all his might. Only by taking a gamble could a bicycle turn into a rocket and soar into the sky. No. Young lord, you will definitely become a thorn in Ziyan's side. I am afraid that once you walk out of the dragon transformation sea, Clan Master, you don't have to persuade me. I have made up my mind. Ijan shook his head, and his eyes were filled with vicissitudes. What's the point of living an ignoble life? Forget it. Now that Ziyen has just left, I am afraid she will not expect us to walk out of the dragon transformation sea. That young man from the human clan is obviously not from the Sea Emperor Palace, and Ziyen has always hated the human clan. Young lord, I will go with you. Ao Sun pondered for a moment and sighed softly. The Heavenly Alligator's ancestral land was Ijan's only hope now. He didn't dare to miss the opportunity in front of him. All right, then I will have to trouble you. This time, Ijan didn't refuse. He nodded gently and walked out of the dragon transformation sea with Ao Sun. On the other side, Ling Xiao and the other two walked out of the Flood Dragon Clan's territory and stopped in the depths of the sea. If you can't give me a reasonable explanation, you will die very miserably today. Ziyen stood with her hands behind her back, standing in front of Ling Xiao and Xiu. Her tone was extremely indifferent. Master, you can't hurt him. It was Lord Ling Xiao who saved my lifetime and time again. If it wasn't for him. Buzz. Before Shi-Er's voice trailed off, Ziyen waved her hand and directly turned into a thunder realm, trapping her in place. Your means can deceive a little girl like Shi-Er, but in front of me, it is meaningless. Ziyan's golden eyes were calm, and there wasn't the slightest ripple on her pretty face. She just stared straight at Ling Xiao, as if staring at a fun prey. The destruction of the Golden Scale Clan and the Bone Clan didn't make her angry at all. On the contrary, if all of this was arranged by this young man, his temperament was really curious. An 18 or 19-year-old young man dared to scheme against the Flood Dragon Clan and her. Should I say that you are outstanding or you are courting death? Moreover, what puzzled Ziyen the most was, how did he know about Ijan's whereabouts? I will give you a chance to say a word. I can help you get rid of Ijan. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently, as if he didn't take Ziyan's threat seriously at all. In some ways, Ziyan and he were the same kind of people. How could villains have so many emotions? Everything was based on interests. Chapter 733. Oh! Ziyen raised her eyebrows slightly, and a charming smile suddenly bloomed on her face. Okay, you've moved me, but why should I believe you? Given the current situation, it won't be easy to kill Ijan. If he hides in the Flood Dragon clan, I'm afraid the Sea Emperor can't do anything. Also, to be honest, I know some divination. Ijan is full of luck. You couldn't kill him before, and you won't be able to kill him in the future. He will eventually step on your corpse and become the new Sea Emperor. Ling Xiao smiled with a calm expression, as if he wasn't afraid of Ziyan's identity at all. In Ziyan's eyes, this attitude caused a trace of surprise to appear in her heart. Where did this young man come from? With such an immortal aura, no one would believe that he was a nobody. However, there weren't many famous human geniuses in the southern border who hadn't been killed by the sea race. Where did he come from? Is that so? Then you're underestimating me too much. Ziyen snorted coldly. Golden light suddenly shone in her eyes, forming a divine realm out of thin air. There seemed to be an ancient dome in it, and it was about to suppress Ling Xiao. To be honest, she felt inexplicably uneasy. Luck had been said since ancient times. However, it was illusory and no one could see through it. However, when she thought of how Ijan could escape and even return to the immortal path after she dug out his monster core and immortal source, Ziyen felt that something was wrong. In 1 month, I'll bring Ijan's head and hand it to the Sea Emperor. Ling Zhao's face was still calm. Even when the divine realm landed on top of his head, there was no trace of fear in his eyes. Who are you? Why are you so sure that I'll cooperate with you? This time, there was a trace of surprise in Ziyan's eyes. With her reputation in the Sea Realm, even the God Emperor's people wouldn't dare to look at her like this. Could it be that this young man was confident enough to escape from her? Ridiculous. However, the more it was so, the more curious Ziyen was about him. Who I am is not important. What's important is what the Violet Emperor wants. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently. On his handsome face, there was an inexplicable trace of wickedness. Tell me, what do I want? Ziyen waved her hand and removed the divine world. She stared at Ling Xiao with interest. She had never seen such an interesting young man in 300 years. Even 300 years ago, she was the only one who could manipulate others. When had she ever been manipulated like this? However, this kind of manipulation made Ziyen somewhat unable to stop herself. Interesting, but when everything becomes boring, you will still die. 300 years ago, the Violet Emperor seized Crocodile Battle's demon core and immortal origin. With his unparalleled battle prowess, he swept through the sea clans. After 100 years of war, he finally unified this sea region. Ling Zhao's gaze was warm, and there was a bit of appreciation in his gaze as he looked at Ziyen. What the F***ck? Why do I suddenly feel that this young man is a rank 9 divine emperor, and I am merely a plaything in his eyes? This feeling came inexplicably. However, the more Ziyen looked at Ling Xiao, the more she found that she could not see through him. This young man was clearly overflowing with immortal charm and natural Tao intent. However, when he spoke, there was more or less wickedness in his word. However, if the Sea Monarch wants to firmly sit on the throne of the sea region, he should not be so eager for instant success and slaughter the masses. This is more like a temporary suppression, and not a long-term plan. Thus, I guess that what the Violet Emperor cares about is not the sea region, but something else. Oh? I am already the supreme ruler of this world. I possess mountains and rivers spanning tens of thousands of miles. What else could I be plotting? Ziyan's golden eyes trembled slightly. There seemed to be a demonic figure covering the sky. In an instant, Ling Xiao seemed to see a great lightning demonic figure towering over the world, overlooking all living things. It was emitting an ancient and tyrannical aura. Even though this woman was extremely beautiful, Ling Xiao knew that her nature was still extremely savage. Playing with her was wrong. Playing with her was also wrong. In short, one had to be careful when playing with fire. What the Violet Emperor is plotting has nothing to do with me. However, I know that once Izhan dies, the sea races led by the Flood Dragon humans will lose all hope. Without hope, what can they use to fight you? Ling Xiao did not mind. If Ziyan really had a way to destroy the Flood Dragon humans, she would not have returned in defeat today. Furthermore, according to Folded Shadow's information, 3 of the 10 royal races of the sea region were led by the Flood Dragon humans. In other words, it was impossible for Ziyan to borrow the help of the other sea races to attack the Flood Dragon humans. Now, the Heavenly Crocodile's successor had appeared. Furthermore, he had the help of the Flood Dragon humans. More sea races would probably join Izhan's side. Given that, Ziyan's position would be in danger. Overly cruel methods would only garner fear and less respect. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. After talking for so long, you still have not told me your name. Ziyan smiled. Her eyes were bewitching, completely different from the cold arrogance from earlier. His voice was a little familiar, but his appearance was extremely unfamiliar. Suddenly, Ziyan seemed to have thought of a person. Only he would have such guts, right? The saint of the sacred sect? Ling Xiao. Lord Ling Xiao, where did you come from? You are helping me so deliberately. It can't be out of kindness, right? Ziyan nodded. She reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. It was a simple action, but it was filled with an irresistible temptation. She was peerless in her generation, making one feel pity for her. However, Ling Xiao's expression did not change in the slightest in front of this sea race beauty. This made Ziyan feel even more surprised. Unmoved by force or persuasion. Flawless? Of course, I am helping the Violet Emperor because I have a motive. Ling Xiao smiled calmly. I will help the Violet Emperor kill Izhan and protect the Violet Emperor's position in the sea race. The Violet Emperor will help me keep one person alive. Who? For now, the Violet Emperor does not need to know. However, if the Violet Emperor agrees, you can help me do another thing first. Ling Xiao did not say it clearly. After all, killing the divine envoy was too shocking. Given Ziyan's temperament, she might not dare to agree immediately. Haha, you are a good schemer. You help me kill one person, but I have to help you do 2 things? No matter how I look at it, it seems that I am at a disadvantage. Ziyan smiled faintly. She suddenly felt a sense of loss in her heart. After so many years, this was the first time she had some interest in a man. Unfortunately, he was a human and a young man. No matter how talented he was and how terrifying his temperament was, he could not become someone she could rely on. In other words, if he was born 300 years earlier, perhaps Ziyan would seriously consider and get to know him better. Maybe the thing I want the Violet Emperor to do is also what the Violet Emperor has been plotting all along? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He already knew from Shi-Er that the Ocean Emperor hated the sacred sect to the core. However, according to Ling Xiao's knowledge, the sacred sect had never suppressed the sea region in the past 300 years. So, where did this hatred come from? Old hatred? As he thought of this, Ling Xiao took out a sound transmission talisman from his ring. The Violet Emperor has a commander called Shi-Si under him, right? That's right. Ziyan's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, but she did not deny it. With Ling Xiao's current methods, he would have already noticed Shi-Si following him. In that case, this young man was really luring her into a trap? Interesting, it was getting more and more interesting. I have always been the one scheming against others. I did not expect that today I would be schemed against by a young man. Of course, Ziyan did not feel threatened at all from the beginning to the end. Thousands of schemes were meaningless in the face of absolute strength. She was a ninth-grade divine emperor, the ruler of the world. How could she be afraid of an 18-year-old young man? She just wanted to know what Ling Xiao was plotting. Also, what did he mean by what he was plotting was also what she was plotting. With his age and experience, how could he know how vast the world was? All the laws in the world were illusory. Only karma was eternal. Ocean Emperor, please ask this commander to help me kill a few people. Don't worry, they are all small fries. Ling Xiao smiled and took out a piece of golden paper from his bosom. Dozens of names were written on it with cinnabar. Oh, remember to ask Commander Shi to kill them according to the order I wrote. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.